27-year-old Keoki Willis is suing custodian Shalia Batchelor for reimbursement for her child's living expenses. Keoki says she's been raising Shalia's daughter for 4 years.
All rise. Now this is case number 597 on the calendar in the matter of Willis versus Batchelor. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Miss Willis, you've been taking care of Miss Batchelor's daughter for years.
Yes.
She first came to live with you because you were married to her father?
Yes.
He's in prison?
No, he's just not around at all.
Left.
Gone.
And you have how many children with him?
None.
You have children of your own?
I do, right.
But he brought this child into your home?
Right.
When?
August 28th of 2000.
How old is she?
She's 11. She'll be 12 in June.
And you've been taking care of her ever since?
Solely.
When did your husband leave?
In 2002.
Where were you?
In Washington State.
What were you doing there?
I live there.
What you want, Miss Willis, is you want support for this little girl from her mother, because you've been taking care of her, according to you, with no support from her mother.
None.
Ball's in your court, madam. I'd like to hear you.
I have evidence here of money order receipts as well as a letter that I wrote. I have package receipts that I've mailed packages to
I'm not
her.
interested in packages.
Okay.
Forget packages. Packages are not support. Okay. How much support have you sent for your daughter since 2002?
There's one for $150 here.
Give me just a second. I have to do this. 150. Go ahead.
There's one here for $30.
$30.
One for $100. One for $150. And one for $50.
Who were those money orders made out to?
They were made out to her father. Only one of them was made out to Oki.
She's never made one out to me.
What was the date of the last one?
September 8th, 2003.
Okay, since September 8th, 2003, you have sent no support for your daughter.
Not cash.
Well, that's all I'm interested in, is cash. How do you support yourself? With
Work.
packages?
No.
Your boss at the end of the week give you packages?
No.
Well, at the end of the week, your boss gives you money.
Right.
Well, that's support. That's what people barter in this country. You give them dollars, and they give you bagels and lox, and milk, and chopped meat, and chicken. You know, that's how we survive in this country. How did you expect your children to survive since September of 2003?
I felt like that was her father's responsibility.
Wrong.
So I sent her to him. He said that he would take care of her, and obviously he did not do that.
Well, when did you find out that he split?
I found out when Judge Judy called me.
You didn't know that before?
No.
Well, that's interesting. So the last contact you had with your child was over 2.5 years ago. Is that right?
Yes.
Why is that? Did you move?
No. I just moved in September. Before that, I stayed in the same house. She was out here last summer also, and I let her at her mother's house, and I let my daughter call over there to speak with her grandmother. My daughter speak with her grandmother to tell her happy birthday. She answered the phone. My daughter said, "Mommy, like, what are you doing out here?" She didn't even speak. You know, she passed the phone to her mother instead of talking to her daughter. I called back the next morning to speak with her. Her mother told me she already left back for Washington.
Listen to me. Since Miss Willis has been caring for your daughter, you provided $480. That amounts to 32 cents a day. Do you think that's enough?
No, it isn't.
What kind of a job do you have?
I'm a custodial.
How much do you earn a week?
$400.
Here you have a child that you expect to exist on 30 cents a day. It's not her responsibility to support your child.
She took the responsibility.
No, she didn't. She didn't adopt your child.
At any point, she could have sent my daughter back to me at any point.
That is the most ridiculous statement that I've ever heard. If you chose to have a baby and not be a mother, that's your prerogative. If you were smart enough to say, listen, I'm not the maternal type. I'm not good at raising a child. You probably can do it better. I'm going to let you do it because I can't, or I'm not interested in doing it. That's honest. But don't tell me that you've got this burning maternal instinct in your stomach and all she had to do was call you and you would have taken your daughter because anybody who is a parent, they wake up in the morning and they go into the nursery and they say, gee, my kid's not here. You know? They don't wait 2.5 years.
I didn't wait 2.5 years. I've tried on multiple occasions to call them. They told me that I cannot call or send her any more packages.
Listen to me,
That's what
my
her
friend.
father
Listen
said.
to me very carefully. At this point, Miss Willis is a legal stranger to your child. At any time, you could have petitioned the court for immediate custody of your daughter. I doubt that you can do it now. I would think that any judge that would give you custody of your child at this point had to be missing one in his six-pack. However, there was a time immediately after the child left your custody when you could have done that. So you can relinquish custody of your child to somebody else, but when you relinquish custody of your child to a stranger, you pay support. And what Miss Willis is asking for, as far as I'm concerned, is a minimal amount of retroactive support for the child in the time that she supported the child. What she's asking for is $5,000 over the course of 4 years. It's a little more than $1,000 a year. Figure it out. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She had numerous opportunities to get her daughter back.
I've been denied the opportunity to do it, not necessarily by the plaintiff, but by her father.
Well, she's my daughter. I couldn't imagine her even going back with her.
I don't accept the fact that I'm going to have a custody issue with her. She is my daughter.
I will fight to the end to make sure she stays with me forever.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Jones versus Luis Castillo. Step forward, please.
Douglas Jones is suing his cousin, bus driver Dwight Lewis, and girlfriend Mary Ellen Castillo for damages to his home as the result of a fight. Douglas says Mary Ellen and his girlfriend went toe-to-toe.
Mr. Jones, Mr. Lewis is your cousin, according to your complaint, and this lady with him is his girlfriend.
That's correct.
At some time, for reasons that I'm sure you will explain to me, you allowed Mr. Lewis, his girlfriend, and her 3 children to move into your home, a home that you shared with your girlfriend.
That's correct.
And any other children?
Yes, 2 boys.
Whose children are those?
Ours.
The 2 women, for some reason, did not get along.
Right.
And there was an altercation that became physical. And it is your claim that this altercation that became physical resulted in Miss Castillo taking a plate and throwing it against your sliding glass doors, causing the door to break. You want her to pay $600 for the glass door.
Which the glass door that's been chipped, the kitchen window, she broke also.
Ms. Castillo says you're lucky she's not suing you and your girlfriend because she was injured during that altercation. An altercation that was started by your girlfriend.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She starts going, oink, oink, you a pig, oink, oink. And she spit in my face and ran.
So what did you do?
I snatched her up when she was running. And I threw her on the ground and we were fighting.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Douglas Jones says his cousin, Dwight Lewis, and his girlfriend, Mary Ellen Castillo, owe for damage to his house. Douglas says the damage occurred during a fight between Mary Ellen and his girlfriend, Laminda.
Were you present during the altercation?
I know, I was in a room next to the kitchen.
Step up here. What's your name?
Laminda?
Laminda, you have a last name.
Malik.
When did they move in with you?
They moved in June of '04, and the fight took place at August.
It was right after your back
30th.
surgery.
Right, right.
August of 31st of '04.
Correct.
What started the fight?
We were in the kitchen, and the night before we had been fighting the whole night. My dad was just going to California, so he had stopped by, and she was still calling me names the next morning. It was over a washer and just things that she was like nitpicking on, you know, if I did the dishes or, you know, putting dishes to each side of the sink. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was little kid fighting, but she was still doing it the next day. When my dad came over, she stood over in the carport, and she starts like folding her arms and just staring at me, and I'm like, I'm trying not to look over at her, and she starts going, oink, 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 you a pig, oink, oink.
That's the day before.
Yeah, later on, we were cooking, and she spit in my face and ran. And at the time, she couldn't really talk because she had sores in her mouth. And so, I don't know, to me, that was assault. You know, that was assault to me. That was it. I had it, and I couldn't take it no more. And
so what did you do?
I snatched her up when she was running.
What does that mean, you snatched her up?
By her hair.
So you grabbed her by the hair?
Yeah.
And what did you do?
And I threw her on the ground, and we were fighting. Then her husband jumped in and went to go pull me off.
And that's when I heard the commotion.
That's when he heard the commotion.
And I just had a back operation a couple of days before that.
I'm sorry about that. You feeling better?
A little bit.
Good. Can we get back to the story, please? All right. So now he comes in to try to pull you off. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. And when he started to pull me off, I felt like I was being, like it was both of them. She was still getting her, kicking me and stuff, and I had been threatened by her the whole time.
Well, he's trying to pull you off, so evidently you're on top.
No, pull us apart, actually, because at the time we were both still wrestling on the ground, and I had been told many times, don't mess with Mary Ellen, you know, that she was going to whip my...
Okay.
Sorry.
Where are all the children when this is going on?
They were scattered all over the house. Some were playing out in the yard, and some were in the living room.
The children didn't come in to hear what all the commotion was?
Yeah, a couple of them came to the kitchen door after the fight had broken up. See, they've been nitpicking at each other for a while, especially Mary Ellen, because it seemed like she wanted to be the alpha female, and you don't do that when you're invited to somebody's house. I asked my cousin and them to come up here because Mary Ellen had got kicked out of his daughter's house in Georgia, where they moved into another house, and they said they had black mold, and the mold was killing them. So I said, well, come on up and, you know, stay with me. You got 3 kids, so get them in school up here and come up here. I didn't expect her to come over and take over.
I wouldn't try to take over from her.
Evidently, she tried.
I want to know how the window got broken.
After the fight went on, I think Mary Ellen was very upset about getting beat because she was promoted. She was.
Come on.
My cousin was promoting her as, you know, this really good fighter. She beat up 2 cops in California and all this kind of stuff. And she was upset getting beat, so she took it out on my house. You know,
Did you see her throw the plate?
No, I heard the plate. I saw her hitting the door with the plate, though, because once I heard the kitchen window break, I was on the phone with my brother, Wolfat Jones, and I came in. She was at the sliding glass door, banging it, but she had broke a plate on the sliding glass door already, putting chips
Why
in
were
it.
you hitting the sliding glass door with the plate?
It wasn't broken at all.
Why were you hitting it with the plate?
She attacked me when it was blood all over the floor, and she gave me a scar right here, and I have 4 stitches. I have 2 cuts, 4 stitches.
Sounds like you got the better of the bargain.
And my window still isn't fixed. I have plastic on it. You know, in Seattle, it rains a lot, and it ran up a lot of bills because I'm raising my 2 boys. I'm out on L&I right now, so I don't have a lot of money to fix the window. Labor in the industry. I got hurt at work. I work in a prison. So I couldn't get it fixed. They said that they were going to fix it.
When did they say they were going to fix it?
The next day afterwards, he said, well, let's go to Lowe's and find another window. And I said, no.
Did you say that, Mr. Lewis?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
So why didn't you fix it?
He didn't want a Lowe's window. He wanted it professionally done, which would have cost a lot, and we didn't have the money at the time.
The reason why I didn't want him to fix my window, Your Honor, he was trying to, he changed my toilet seat with a crowbar.
Let me see the estimate on the window. As long as Mr. Lewis agreed to fix it, then he's got to fix it.
Well, Your Honor, he tried to fix my toilet bowl and cracked it. I don't want him to...
No, he's not coming back to fix it now.
Yeah, no, I don't want him to fix it anyway. Okay. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Do you have a picture of the patio door?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
I took it with a camera phone, so you can still see it good, though.
Quite frankly, what distresses me more than anything else is that you have 5 children there who are witnessing these 2 women in a mud fight on the kitchen floor. And according to your cousin, at least, you seem to think that it's wonderful that she's a good fighter.
He always did. He always did.
You've heard the fictionalized account. What I will tell you what truly happened.
Go ahead, I'm willing to listen.
When we left Georgia, we left Marietta because the house we were in had too much mold in it.
Tell me about your daughter.
Mary Ellen and the children wanted to go to Washington. to Uncle Dougie's house. So we went up there. He had told us, he had assured us beforehand that Laminda was not living there. He had kicked her out a year before because they weren't getting along.
Where were the children, his children living?
His children were there.
But not their mother?
No. He had hired a nanny for a while.
Is that right so far, sir?
That's correct.
Okay.
He had hired a nanny. She came over and beat up the nanny one day. That's why she had a warrant. That's why after she assaulted Mary Ellen, she had to split. That's why once we broke them apart in the kitchen during the fight, he was trying to get her out of the place before the police arrived.
Mr. Lewis, when you arrived there, was she there?
No, she was not. She has her own place in
When
Bremerton.
did she come back?
When he needed to have his back operation. His oldest son has diabetes. He did not trust either of us to give him his medication. We've never done it.
But she had.
So she had. They had been together since the kids were small until he got rid of her. Well, when she came back in, she was back in her house. She was pushing her around. She even tried to push me around, telling me to get out of my cousin's room.
Which was my room at the time?
No, you slept in the extra bedroom. He would let you come in there once in a while.
No. Okay.
For whatever.
Becoming clear to me, why did you eject her from the house?
She's been gone for at least a year and a half, maybe 2 years. Well, she liked going out a lot, you know. And
she liked to party.
Exactly, yeah.
And that wasn't good for your children?
No.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
There's a reason why you tell the mother of your children she can't live in your house anymore.
Right.
I mean, I don't have to go into all the details.
We actually parted our own ways.
There's a reason you tell the mother of your children that she can't live in your house anymore and she's leaving without her children.
I didn't leave without my children, Your Honor.
Right.
I didn't leave without my children. I had my children with me when I left them. I stayed in the shelter with my kids, Your Honor, so...
Somehow the children got back with their father.
Yeah, they did, because I was a housewife with nothing to stand on when I left him.
You have to pay for the window and the door. If you're still together, she looks confused. You understand that you understand that you have to pay for the window and the door.
Yes, Your
You
Honor.
said you were going to pay for it. If she wants to sue her for her medical bills, she certainly is entitled to do that. At some other date, if you had filed a counterclaim with regard to her medical bills or injuries, I would have at least entertained that today, but you had no counterclaim. You have to pay for the window and the door. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
22-year-old government analyst Kristen Otterstetter is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old mechanic Jarrett Burke, for a loan for bail, attorney fees, and rent. Kristen says Jarrett is a drunk.
This is case number 580 on the calendar in the matter of Otterstetter versus Burke. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
He used to be your boyfriend.
Correct.
And well over a year ago, you claim a loan to him to bail him out of jail and for an attorney.
Yes, ma'am.
After he didn't pay you back for the loan, you decided to move into an apartment with him and signed a lease. You were there for several months. According to you, he assaulted you.
Yes, ma'am.
He was put out of the house. Don't laugh.
I didn't assault her. She assaulted me.
Don't laugh. Anyway, he was put out of the house, and you want him to pay his half of the rent for the entire lease.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Burke says that you put a restraining order on him. He was not permitted to go back to the house, so he's not going to pay for an apartment that he can't live in. And with regard to the bail was a gift because she wanted him out of jail. And the attorney's fees, he really paid for because you deposited all his money into a joint checking account, and he gave you his salary and put it in a joint checking account, so...
Not joint, just hers.
Hers. You gave her money. From your job?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did you sign this lease?
Which one?
The one that we are talking about, where you were evicted.
Okay.
And don't be glib with
It was
me.
in,
I don't like it.
September.
September of what
End
year?
of October 2004.
When did you move in?
It was like October 25th, maybe sooner, like a week earlier.
When did you move in?
I have the lease right here, Your Honor. It's dated 8/26/04.
When were you put out of the apartment?
October 19th.
Did you pay September's rent, your half?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
No, ma'am, it's not.
How did you pay September's rent?
I put all my checks into her account.
For how long?
February all the way up to about September, the end of September.
Yeah.
I also finished the job.
Your Honor, that's a complete lie, and I brought all my bank account statements with me. So if he has dollar amounts and dates, we can look on my bank statements and see if there were checks deposited.
Well,
it would be around the 15th and the 1st of every month.
How much did you give him?
Amounts.
Shh, don't speak to him.
Amounts.
Well,
look on the 15th and the 1st.
2, and then I'm going to say goodbye to both of you. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you give her on the 1st and the 15th, sir, when you got a check?
About $400 on the 1st, and then be another $400 on the 15th.
Let me see your bank statement. What's this U.S. Treasury?
I am an employee of the government.
National Guard.
Bed Bath & Beyond payroll.
I was also employed there.
Who did you work for, sir?
Ray Hall Construction. It would be Payroll Plus that the checks were from.
I don't see any of that so far.
They should be in there.
Well, I don't see any.
Not there.
I don't see any
it's
in
not
here.
there because you didn't deposit money in my account.
I did.
Opti Brand?
I worked for them as well, Your Honor. I had 3 jobs.
I mean, I have a whole lot of deposits here, sir, but nothing.
And any of them unknown?
No.
Just?
No. $30, $40, nothing. No $400, sir.
Any big amounts in June?
Now we're going all the way to June. You said since February. I mean, I'm looking.
Well, yeah, go back to June and see if there's any big amounts, about $1,000.
No, sir, I see a couple of small deposits. Listen to me. $40 or $80.
Well, it's kind of funny because she got a $1,600 check that disappeared now.
Nothing in June.
There's no $1,600
There should be because our old landlord paid us.
Mr. Burke, I'm talking about your money. And
I know,
we're talking
and my money
about,
got
and
put
all
into
we're
her
talking
account.
about is September. First, we're talking about September. You said you paid it.
September, yes, ma'am. But how am I supposed to prove if I ain't got no papers because they're still at my house where I can't go back to?
I don't know, sir.
Yeah, that's not true either.
That is true.
How much is his share of the rent?
It would be $297.50 per month.
And he paid September.
No, ma'am, he did not.
He paid August.
No, ma'am, he
did
not.
He didn't pay it all since you moved in.
No, ma'am, not a dime.
Right?
He did pay. I will give him this. He did pay his half of the deposit, which was $250. That's all he paid.
Are you still living there?
Yes, ma'am, I am. I couldn't get out of the lease.
Okay, this is what I've done. He was there until October 19th. He should have paid both September and October's rent. And from that, I have deducted the $250 deposit because the deposit you're going to get back yourself when he leaves. And
actually, ma'am, I'm probably not going to get that deposit back with all the holes that he put in our walls.
Well,
and I have pictures to prove the holes that he put in our walls. So, no, I'm not going to get that money back.
I don't know that. I don't know that, and I suggest that you get a little putty and putty up the walls. So that's $345. You do not get the full amount of the lease.
I'm held responsible for the lease. Why is he not?
No, both of you are.
So why does he not have to pay his half? It's not my fault. He thought it was okay to throw me around.
You said it was okay for me to
and
move
I got
out.
a restraining order. That's not my fault. Why am I being held responsible for this and he's not?
Kristen, listen to me very carefully. Right now, what he owes you for are September and October's rent. Should the landlord not let you out of your lease and decide to sue you, both of you, then you have a cause of action against him for your damages. But to give you that money now is premature because, A, it's possible that you can get a roommate to cover some of the months.
And I have
B, it's possible that the landlord will let you out of the lease. But right now, if I awarded you the money for the lease, what I'm saying is you can live there alone. You've put him out. There was a restraining order. He was told not to come back to the house. Nobody told him to be involved in bad behavior. But you had some clue before that he had a problem.
And there's nothing I could do.
Yes, you didn't have to sign an 11-month lease with him.
And he didn't get violent until after we signed that lease.
If you're 22 years old, and when you're 21 years old, you have to front him $500 for bail money, and for a lawyer, you exercise better judgment and you don't enter into a lease with somebody like that. That's what you do. Now tell me about this case that you had where you needed to be bailed out of jail, sir.
We had been dating for like a month and a half. and then I had gotten a DUI.
How many DUIs have you had? Look at my eyes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Kiss up to God and say thank you for opening my eyes to the fact that this man is a loser.
I'm a loser, huh?
Yeah. Big time loser.
And later today,
me and Mariel dated for a while.
I'm not your therapist, and this is not Montel. Take your hands off your hips, sir. Only attitude here is mine.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kristen Otterstetter says ex-boyfriend Jarrett Burke owes for bail, attorney fees, and rent. Kristen says Jarrett was arrested for a DUI.
Go ahead.
I've been pulled over for 3, but I got 1. She paid the $500 to get me out. She won.
Shh. You got pulled over, and when you got pulled over, you were taken to the precinct.
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you do when you got to the precinct?
I had contacted Kristen. I had contacted my sister.
You called her?
I had contacted my sister to let them know that I was in jail.
And what did Kristen say to you?
Kristen said she wanted to help me out.
And what did you say?
I said she could, but I was going to get out anyways.
And you were working at the time in construction?
No, ma'am.
What were you doing?
I had just got laid off. I was working at a car dealership.
Why didn't you give her back the $500 bail?
I gave her money because the terms that we had was that I just lived with her. I had a place to live with my brother, but the terms was if she got me out, she wanted me to live with her.
You must be some prize.
I guess.
Must be one of those hidden things that you don't see. You know, like a frog. Maybe somebody kisses you, turn into a prince, but I don't see it, quite frankly, with my naked eye. So you're telling me that she said, this lady who works 3 jobs, said, I'm going to pay you the $500, and all I want in return is I want you to come and live with me.
Yes, ma'am. Why'd I move in with her then? When I had a place I could go to.
Everybody has a place, sir.
Yes, everybody does have a place, but why'd I have to move in with her?
Maybe she's a good cook.
Maybe.
Kristen.
Yes, ma'am.
You're 22 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to figuratively lean over and kiss the ground and kiss up to God and say, thank you, thank you, thank you for opening my eyes before I did anything stupid like having a child with him.
Yes, ma'am.
Like marrying him, like buying a house with him. Thank you for opening my eyes to the fact that this man is a loser.
I'm a loser, huh?
He is.
And
Big time!
You got hit by a car?
Big time! Loser.
You
who owes
think
her
I'm
300? Who owes her $345? Close your mouth.
Well, she's the one who hit me by a car.
Close your mouth. $345 for the rent, $500 for the bail. How much for the lawyer?
$1,000, Your Honor.
Show me $1,000 for the lawyer.
It's a check that I wrote.
What happened with his DUI case?
Yeah, and that's the reason that I did have to stay, is because I will admit I was stupid, and I signed his bail, and therefore I had to keep track of him. Otherwise, the courts would have come after me for $5,000.
Don't tell me that that's the reason, Kristen, because I don't believe it. Not for a second. Are you telling me you let him move in with you so that you could keep track of him?
No.
Were you keeping track of him at night, too?
No.
Huh?
I offered him a place to stay because he said he could stay with his little brother, but his little brother kicked him out.
Kristen, listen to me very carefully, sweetheart. I don't even think your mother's buying that. For some strange reason, I hope you just had a lapse in judgment.
Yes, I did.
You seem like a hard-working girl who's got everything in order. I'm very impressed with what you've done with your life so far as your work history is concerned. Don't pick on losers. You're a terrific gal. Pick on a winner.
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff for the bail, $500, $1,000 for the lawyer, and $345 for his rent. 2 months. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just figured, you know, if somebody could help give him a fresh start, he may be able to change his life, and obviously he can't.
She had beaten me up and hit me with a truck, and I got in trouble for arguing with her, and that's why I got arrested.
He just got really angry, threw me around, threw a knife across the room, wouldn't let me out of the house.
I attacked myself with a knife.
I was trying to go out with my friends that night.
She had an abortion, and I just kind of thought my life, you know, was done. I couldn't stand it. You know, I lost everything I wanted.
Like she said, I need to stay away from guys like him.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Maya versus Magana, step forward, please.
20-year-old administrative assistant Mariel Meyer is suing her ex-boyfriend, 24-year-old construction worker Luis Magana, for unpaid credit card charges. Luis says Mariel gave him the card to use as he pleased.
Ms. Meyer, I assume this is your twin sister over here that you brought to court.
Yeah.
And I assume you brought her so that she could tell me what a lousy character Mr. Magana?
Magana.
Mr. Magana is. Because she used to date him.
Yeah.
When she got finished with him because she found out that he was a person of, according to her, poor character, you decided not to believe her and you started to date him. Yep. In addition to starting to date him, you got a credit card and decided it would be nice to give him another card. And he's supposed to pay whatever he spent on that card. And he took the card and spent some money, paid you some for the bill, and then you broke up and you claim he still owes you some money. And Mr. Magana says, what?
Me and Mariel...
First, I want you to stand up on your own 2 feet.
All right. Me and Mariel dated for a while.
Listen to me. I'm not your therapist. And this is not Montel. So I don't care about you dating. I already said you were dating. Take your hands off your hips, sir. Only attitude here is mine.
I feel I don't owe her that money because, first of all, I never asked for her to give me a card. She gave me the card.
Okay, so that's the first thing. You never asked her for the card?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Let's have it all at one time because I'm really interested in all of your defenses. I want to hear them all. First, you never asked her for the card, but she gave it to you anyway.
No, I did not.
Next.
She said that she got the card because she wanted to build up her credit and that I could make some charges on it.
So she gave it to you so that you could make charges on it so she could build up her credit?
Yeah, making payments back on the credit card and whatnot.
And that you were going to make payments on it?
Yeah. The agreement that we made was that I was going to give her some money. This was after the fact that we had broken up and she discontinued the card for me. It was never an agreement that I was going to pay whatever things were charged on there.
Can I say something?
No.
These things were charged...
He's doing miserably enough on his own. Why don't you just let him finish?
These are things that were charged when we'd go out partying, clubbing, and whatnot. Things that were charged so I wouldn't look like a cheapskate or whatever when we'd go out with friends and whatnot.
So you wouldn't look like a freeloader?
I guess you can say that.
Why didn't you pay cash?
Just saw it easier to pay with the card.
Well, she could have used her card. I mean, you each had a card, right?
That's correct.
Why did you use yours?
Like I said, when we were with our friends, you know, I mean, being the guy, you know, it looks better. You know, the guy paying for things, so I just whip out the card that I had and put the charges on
Well,
there.
so what you're telling me, sir, is that you really were committing a fraud. You were saying to the other people that you were with, listen, I'm the guy, and I'm taking care of the meal or the club, but in actuality, what you were thinking was, I'm not going to pay for this. Is that what I'm understanding? I'm trying to understand you, Mr. Magana.
The way...
Because the first reason that you gave me that you're not responsible is because you never asked for the card.
Correct.
Okay. And so let me respond to that first. If you didn't ask for it, and if you didn't want it, what could you have said, Mr. Magana?
I could have said no, but...
That's right. You could have said no. I don't need the credit card. I don't want a credit card. I like to pay in...
cash.
Because if I don't have the...
money.
I don't want to spend...
the money.
Right. Look how smart he is. And we've never met. He can finish my sentences. Second thing that you said to me was when you would go out together, because you didn't want to look like a freeloader, and it's because in your mind and in your friend's mind, it's the man's responsibility to pay for the entertainment, right?
Correct.
You whipped out the card instead of paying cash because you wanted to feel good.
That's right.
There's a price for that. You want to feel good, you got to do the right thing. You understand, Mr. Magana?
I understand.
There are no
now.
free rides here, sir. If you want to look like a freeloader, she'll take out her own card. Then you'll look like a deadbeat freeloader. in front of your friends. You want to look like a big shot? Pay the tab. You got it. How much does he owe you?
$486.50.
That's what you owe her. Did she tell you that that's what you owed?
Yes, she did.
And what did you tell her?
Well, I didn't feel I owed the money.
Now you recognize that you do. Is that right, sir?
Well, I didn't feel I owed the money because...
No, I understand that that's the way you used to feel. I'm sort of hoping that after you and I have explored each other a little bit, sir, you've come to terms with the fact that you do owe her the money.
Not necessarily. When she gave me the card, I took that as her giving me a gift. And I don't feel gifts are...
Are you trying to tell me I've just wasted my breath on you for the last 10 minutes, Mr. Magana?
No.
So that you understand that you owe her the money.
All right, correct.
$486.50, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all, thank you.
Parties are excused, you may step out.
28-year-old business owner Greg Hardy and his girlfriend, Jill Connor, are suing their neighbors, loan officer Tianatra Patrice Manley and her daughter, 15-year-old Whitney, for car repair bills and damage to a bicycle.
Yeah, this is case number 575 on the calendar in the matter of Connor Hardy versus Manley. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
According to your complaint, Mr. Hardy, there came a time several months ago when your girlfriend discovered that her car had been hit. Nobody left any information as to the perpetrator of that hit and run, but you went on a sleuthing expedition in your neighborhood, and you came up with the defendant's car, and you found that there was damage to her car, same location, same color paint as happened to be on your car. When confronted, the defendant first acknowledged, then denied that someone else, I think you, were driving the car, but that wasn't their responsibility because although their car had been in an accident, you hit a metal garbage can. A metal garbage can, not her car. Later, which is the second part of your complaint, you claimed that while acting very innocently, the defendant ran over you while you were on your bicycle, causing you medical bills, lost wages, pain and suffering, et cetera, et cetera. So you want the damage to your car, you want all the aggravation medical bills as a result of being hit by the defendant with her car. When was your car hit?
December 23rd. I walked out of the house and noticed that my car had been sideswiped on the front swale.
You have a picture of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
How far do you live from each other?
I think we have about 5 or 6 homes between us.
How long have you lived there?
6 years.
And you?
5.
Never had any problem with each other before?
No.
Nasty.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of paint was on your car? Your paint and what other paint?
And a dark green paint.
Another dark green. Okay. What made you think, Mr. Hardy, that it was Miss Manley's car that caused the damage?
Well, on Christmas Eve, I took a walk down the street. We live on a dead-end street, so I knew if there was somebody on the street that damaged the car, there was a good possibility the car would be there. I walked down the street and saw the damaged vehicle in her carport. I knocked on her door.
Where was it damaged?
It is damaged on the front passenger side. We have the pictures.
It's on the side of the car.
Jill's car is parked on the swale with traffic. Her car was sideswiped on the driver's side, which means if a car was going down the street, most likely it would be on the passenger side damage.
What kind of car do you have?
A Lexus. I have my photos as well.
Can I see your car?
Yeah. I only have damage, a dent, 2 dents in the front side of my car. She has a swipe, and my car hit a metal dumpster at McDonald's.
Well, you don't know that. You weren't driving the car.
Yes, ma'am, that's true.
They told you that that's what happened?
Yes, ma'am, that's true.
Who was driving the car?
My uncle, Patrick.
You were with Patrick?
Yes.
Had you borrowed the car?
Yes.
When?
My mom had given it to us a couple days before Christmas to go to McDonald's because she was cooking.
So on the same date that Miss Connor's car was damaged?
I'm not positive.
Oh, that's what it is. A couple of days before Christmas. Christmas comes the same time every year.
Thursday night.
That's December 25th.
It was at nighttime I gave them the car.
She said a couple of days before Christmas, which would have been the time that this happened. Whitney, when you came home, did you immediately tell your mother that you had been in an accident?
No, I didn't.
Did your uncle?
No, he didn't.
Why not?
Because we were afraid that we wouldn't get our Christmas gifts since it was right before Christmas. And we didn't want to upset her.
So how did you hide the car?
Well, at the time, my mom was driving my grandmother's new Dodge Ram truck. So the car is parked in the carport, and she doesn't usually have no reason to go on the side of the house, and she hasn't seen it.
So you concealed the fact that you were in this accident. Who owned the dumpster?
McDonald's.
Did you tell them that you hit their dumpster?
No, ma'am.
And how did that happen, that the car hit the dumpster?
Well, as we were driving to the drive-in, we were arguing over the radio station, and he was, like, slapping my hand away from the radio station so I wouldn't change it. And I grabbed the wheel, and the car kind of swerved and hit the dumpster.
Now, let's leave that for a moment. When you approached Miss Manley, what did she say?
I knocked at the front door. I asked her, had her car been in an accident with my car on the street? She told me she had not driven the car in 4 days. I knew nothing about it. I asked her to come outside and look at her car.
Was she surprised?
Oh, she was very surprised to see the damage on her car. Called Whitney to the carport door. She asked Whitney if Whitney had driven the vehicle. Whitney said yes, she had driven the vehicle.
That's not true.
Don't.
That's not true.
Don't speak.
Sorry.
And that she had sideswiped my girlfriend's car on her way
That
to
is not
McDonald's.
Listen to me.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, but that's
Just-
not true. Okay.
What do you think, I don't hear? I heard what you said, and I told you to be quiet. You're going to have an opportunity to respond to him. Go ahead.
Whitney said yes, she had driven the car. She had hit Jill's car on the way to McDonald's. Stated that she was putting on her seatbelt at the time of the accident and had just swerved over and rubbed the car and was afraid to tell anybody.
Whitney doesn't even know how to drive.
Listen to me. It's my job to figure out who's telling the truth and who's not. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did you do?
I told her that I would like to call the police. Patrice said this is not a good idea to call the police because Whitney is not covered by her auto insurance, and she would be more than happy to just pay for the damages if I brought her an estimate. She wrote down her name and phone number.
Let me see it, please.
I left that on the door.
Listen to me. When it's your turn, you will speak.
Okay, I'm sorry.
This is her handwriting.
Yes, ma'am.
And you wrote down your name and phone number.
Yes.
And put it on his door.
Yes.
For what reason?
Because I had to talk with her on what happened because she never said anything when he came. He asked her, I asked, did she know about an accident to her car? Whitney said no. Okay, after that point, she didn't say anything else. So therefore, while he was there, if I was going to write down all that information, I would have given him my insurance and other papers.
No, that's not true, madam.
Why?
You usually don't get an opportunity for me to answer your questions, but I'm going to do it for you because you seem to be speaking out of turn. And maybe if I explain to you why you would give him your phone number instead of your insurance information, you will understand. Because what he says is that your daughter said, yes, she drove the car, she had an accident, which sounds right to me, that you said, don't call the police because my insurance isn't going to cover her because she's only 15. Give me an estimate and we'll pay for it. And you gave him your phone number. That's a logical explanation. Now, say nothing, because I've answered you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
As I went to the car, he started calling me a black, all these words. He kicked the car door, and he said I messed with the wrong cracker.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Greg Hardy and his girlfriend Jill Connor say their neighbor, 15-year-old Whitney Manley, sideswiped their car. The couple also claims Whitney's mother, Patrice Manley, ran over Greg's bicycle.
You gave her the estimate, and what happened?
She said that the estimate is too much and that she wasn't going to pay for it, and she told me do what I have to do, and that was it.
Did she come to your house with an estimate?
Yes, she came to my house.
Right.
She said she knew it was me. Sorry.
That's all. There would have been no reason for you to go to her house with an estimate unless she had said to you, bring me an estimate. Right? If her daughter had denied hitting your car and having an uncle hit some trash bin on the same day, there would have been no reason for you, unless you're psychotic, to bring her an estimate. Right? Now let us hop over to what you did later on the bike.
Sunday, we believe January 9th, she brought the estimate down to Patrice. Patrice said she was not going to pay for it. It was too much money. Do what we have to do. We called the police officers back down because we have a hit-and-run report from the first incident.
I'd like to see it, please.
The officer went down there, spoke with Patrice, stated that since she agreed to pay for it...
Don't tell me what the officer said.
That's true. Okay.
No, that's hearsay. I
Okay.
just want to see whether the report was made on the 23rd.
When they went to McDonald's, it was on the 23rd that evening.
Let me explain something to you, madam. I don't believe your daughter. I don't believe your daughter didn't drive the car and hit Jill's car. I believe that that's exactly what she did. And I believe that she acknowledged that the day that he... Listen to me. I believe she acknowledged that to him. She did. And I believe the story that she's telling me now with hitting a dumpster in a McDonald's parking lot is a whole lot of who shot John. Because coincidences sometimes happen in this world. But if there's a more logical basis for what happened, I usually go with the logic rather than the serendipity. Let's move on to the bicycle, sir.
We needed to have our license tag number because we reported to Jill's insurance agency. They needed to have the license tag or some information of Patrice to do a follow-up case. Patrice's car disappears for a length of time. I go for a bike ride on January 20th, the morning. I see Patrice parking in
across the street.
A field adjacent to her house.
Listen to me. I don't want to hear an echo.
Okay.
She's parked in a field, catty corner to her home. I notice that she is running across the street to her door. I pedal down the road. I stop in the street. I said, Patrice, are you not paying for Jill's damages to the car? And Patrice stated, no, she will not pay for the damages.
Are those the words that were used?
At that time, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Then I went over to her car, which was in the field, called Jill at work.
Who owns the field?
It's Broward County public property.
Okay.
Went to the car, called Jill and gave her the auto tag. Patrice was coming back to her car. Then we had a little bit of an altercation.
Was the damage still on the car?
Yes.
Tell me about the altercation.
Basically, we argued about who's going to pay for the car and why she's denying.
What did you say to her, and what did she say to you?
I stated that I can't believe she's not paying for the car. To do such damage while living in the same neighborhood is ridiculous to me. Why would a neighbor act like this? And I told her she was a liar, and she got into her car.
What did she say to you?
I don't remember her exact words, Your Honor.
Did you call her any names?
I called her a liar.
Other than that?
I called her a B word.
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
Yes.
Well, you know, when I ask you what the altercation was, and if what you're going to give me is oatmeal, then I'm not going to believe you.
Well,
do you understand?
Right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Greg Hardy and his girlfriend say their neighbor, 15-year-old Whitney Manley, sideswiped their car. Greg says on a separate occasion, Whitney's mother, Patrice Manley, ran over his bicycle.
Did she say anything to you?
She made comments back to me. I don't really know what she said, to be honest.
Do you remember what you said to him?
When I came out from the house, he was on the back of the car on the phone. He had his dog with him, a bulldog this big, while he was on the bike. As he was talking, I did not say anything. As I went to the car, he started calling me a black, all these words. And I didn't say anything to him because I didn't get upset. I just didn't say nothing. I got in the car and I rolled down the window. He came next on the driver's side. He kicked the car door and he said, I messed with the wrong cracker. I then asked him, what is a cracker? He said, I'm going to get you. He proceeded with the dog, he hopped on the bike, and he proceeded to the street. As I'm driving off, he's in front of my car, would not let me pass. I went around him to not hit him or anything. I went around him. As I went around him, I don't know if the dog stopped or the bike stopped, whatever stopped, but his wheel was under my car because he was still trying to get in front of my car. And then as soon as that happened, when my back tire hit his back tire, he fell off the bike, and I stopped right there. I didn't move, left it as is. He said, I got you now. I got you now. So I didn't say anything. I said, no, I got a good Negro lawyer, is what I told him. So he then picked up the phone and called the police. I, as well, called the police. 2 police came out to the scene, as well as the paramedics.
Can I see the police report on that, please?
Yes. On the last page is
Were you taken by ambulance from the scene?
Yes, I was.
At his request.
Shh. What difference does that make?
Because there was nothing wrong with him.
Well, how do I know that? I'd like to see the medical report. Is this your injury on your ankle?
Yes.
Looks like it got caught in the spokes of the bicycle.
The front crankshaft, yes.
So now I have a few questions for you, Mr. Hardy. Why did you pull out your bicycle at the same time that she was pulling out her car?
I was on the driver's side door when we were arguing.
Yes.
And then she had not yet started the car, or maybe she had just started the car. I have to go up the street. It's a dead-end road. I have to go forward. We're both have to go forward.
Well, I understand that, but
I go first.
Listen to me,
okay,
my friend. You don't have to go forward at the same time. You've just had an altercation with a woman who was in a car that weighs 3,000 pounds. It would seem to me prudent to hang back in the field that is the property of Broward County, play with your dog for 15 minutes, while Miss Manley leaves. You've already gotten the information that you wanted, so there's no need to have any further interaction with her. Is that a fair statement?
That's correct.
Unless you wanted to bug her, which you might be able to do if you drove in front of her car with your dog at your side, so she would be going at 5 miles an hour instead of 25 miles an hour until she got to a place where she could turn off. Is that a possibility?
It is a possibility.
Right. So you could have avoided this whole part of the conflict if you just stayed back and played with, what's your dog's name?
Indy.
Indy. In the field for a couple of minutes. Why didn't you do that?
Well, I didn't expect her to run me over in a car, and I was going to the bike path, which is just right past the bushes, so I can get onto the next street. I was already in motion first. I did not expect her to hit me with the car. She came up from behind me after I was already riding down the street.
Well, Mr. Hardy, I don't buy it.
Okay.
The alternative was for her to stop her car and just wait for you to get to where you wanted to go. You could have done that, right? Said, listen, this guy is behaving like a big baby, and he's just trying to get my goat, and I'm going to turn off my car and wait 5 minutes for him to disappear. But you both got a little bit hot under the collar, and your bicycle went over, and the dog, according to you, pulled you over, and that's how you got hurt.
No, the dog pulled me to the right. The police officer stated that my bicycle was left in the middle of the street, and that is why they didn't deem her a ticket on the accident.
They sure didn't, according to the police officers. According to the police officer's report, police officer says, based upon the position...
2 police officers. It was 2.
What word didn't you understand? Don't talk. This is not a tea party. Do I give you an opportunity to tell your side of the story?
But I didn't finish.
You may not have finished, madam, but I'm getting the information that I need. And so far, with regard to this aspect, you don't seem to be losing. With regard to whether your daughter hit Jill's car, you lost there. Because your daughter drove your car, didn't tell you, and hit her car. And if you believe her that she didn't do it, that's your problem. So you're going to pay for the damage to Jill's car. But Mr. Hardy's going to pay for his own stupidity and not waiting in the field with his dog until you took off. Because I think what he was trying to do was just annoy you. You understand that, Mr. Hardy?
Well, I don't understand.
You understand. I'm glad you understand. You may not agree with me. That's your prerogative. That's your prerogative. You don't have to agree with me. I'm not here. It's not American Idol. It's not a popularity contest. I listen to what, to me, is common sense. It is not common sense that your girlfriend's car was damaged on the same date as she had control of her mother's car. Her mother's car came up dented with a baloney story about hitting something in McDonald's that they didn't report to McDonald's. That doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense that you just happened to get in motion first and felt as if you had to leave the property first while this 3,000-pound car is following you. That doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. Let me see an estimate for your car, Jill. Is your car fixed yet? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,173. That's all. Step out.
Party's got step out. Party's on Rice versus Gardner. Step forward, please.
18-year-old Audra Sullivan Rice is suing Sarah Gardner, the editor of their high school yearbook, because she says out of jealousy, Sarah deliberately used an ugly photo for her senior portrait.
Order. All rise. Quiet, please. Now, this is case number 268 on the calendar in the matter of Rice versus Gardner. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please, sir.
You graduated from high school.
Correct.
You were in charge of the high school yearbook.
Correct. The senior section.
Where they put all the pictures of the seniors, and underneath it, you know, most likely to succeed, most likely to have 10 children before 30th birthday, those little things, right? And Miss Rice, you claim in this lawsuit, where you're asking for $3,500, that the defendant caused a very ugly picture of you to be placed in the yearbook. Correct. Not the picture you had selected.
Correct.
And that's because the two of you had some sort of a history together.
Correct.
So tell me about it.
She disliked me due to my relationship with her now ex-boyfriend, who's my witness. And she was very jealous, and this is a very malicious and dishonest thing to do. And
let me see the picture that she put of you in the yearbook.
This is the picture that was supposed to be in there, and if you notice, it says yearbook selection on the back. And I verified that with the photography studio.
No, that's not such a bad picture in there.
My eyes are half shut. It's not the point that it's like a horrible picture. It's the point that everybody that turns to that picture is going to see me and remember me as that. And that's not what I want. And that wasn't what I asked for.
Well, first of all, I'm glad that I looked at it, because I was really picturing something that looked like Quasimodo based upon what you wrote in your complaint. I mean, you're a very pretty young lady. It would be very hard to make you look ugly. I want to tell you something. Truth of the matter is, I sort of like this one better than this one, but that's just my own personal taste. Let's find out what the defense is for putting the picture that she had not selected in the yearbook. Miss Gardner.
Okay. There's about 300 senior pictures that were in my charge. What was supposed to happen is that seniors were supposed to specify which picture they wanted in the yearbook.
Show her the back of that picture.
Either they were to call their photo company.
No.
Right.
She did that. She did everything she was supposed to do. Miss Gardner, I want you to look at me and tell me whether, when you selected that picture for her, did you get a stack of them from the photographer?
Yes, we got a whole box of envelopes.
Okay. That you took any special care in selecting her picture?
No. There were 3 other individuals that worked with me the first day. Turi, who is my witness, worked with me on the first day, and then there were 2 other individuals who helped me.
You worked with her?
Yes.
Step up here.
And what we did is that the seniors that did specify which picture they wanted,
She did that.
Right. The numbers that did indicate, we pulled those pictures. And
Hers
then,
did.
And then the 3/4 of the seniors who did not specify, we were advised by Mr. Sonamaker to pick the top photo from each envelope.
Okay, but she picked which photo she wanted. It's on the back of her photo, that's the one she picked.
If Mr. Sonamaker had a meeting with her and she specified, he did not let me know. We did divide up the pictures between me and the other 3 individuals that worked with me, and since we were working very fast, no, I don't know who handled Audrey's picture.
Do you remember who handled her picture?
No, I going through, it takes you about 2 minutes to do each one, and you don't even look at their names really. You just look to see if the barcode was there. And
now, Miss Rice, other than the fact that you have a history with Miss Gardner over you.
Correct. And which?
What other evidence do you have that she purposely picked the wrong picture to put in your yearbook?
Okay, this is what
Here we go.
The process I went through.
I know the process you went through. You picked the right picture. You put the right thing on the back. Just tell me what proof you have that she purposely selected the wrong picture. Do you know?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure. Just a minute.
Your Honor, on the last day of school, she was pestering me to get me to sign her yearbook.
Who was?
Miss Gardner. And she said that, "Do you see Audra's picture?" And I said, "Yeah." And she laughed hysterically as if to say that she did it herself. She said, "Ha ha ha, did you see how funny it looked?"
So she just laughed and said, "Did you see her picture?"
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell me as if yours in your mind. What she said was, "Did you see Audra's picture?" And she laughed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you do that?
No, I did not. I would like to add that...
Just a minute.
Okay, sorry.
Sure you did. Sure you did. That's exactly what you said to him. Don't give me a lot of baloney.
Can I please add something?
Add it.
Okay, I did not say that to him. I do feel that...
What did you say to him? I'm not interested in what you feel. What did you say to him?
Actually, from what I remember, there was a lot of goofing off. There was other people there. Jacob did run into a fellow who did want to fight him.
What do you remember about the picture?
What do I remember about the picture?
About the conversation about the picture.
There was no conversation about a picture. I feel that he's not a credible witness. I do have a restraining order against this gentleman.
You do?
Yes.
Can I see
right
it?
Here?
I also have notes that she wrote displaying her disgust for Audra. This is going to be a quote directly from Sarah. "I saw Audra at lunch, and if it weren't for my heavy bag and a cigarette, her ass would have been down." She continues to say about how upset she is, and then she says, "I don't really mind. It's not you that I care about and don't want to hurt, it's them."
Let me see the restraining order. Curious about this. He looks like butter would melt in his mouth, right? Why did you get an order of protection against him?
I was being stalked. There were times when he's tried to strangle me. Coming to my house late at night, I felt very unsafe.
And you had a hearing on this, a trial?
Yes, I did.
Were you represented by an attorney at this trial?
He did not show up.
I was in Utah.
What were you doing in Utah?
I went on a road trip with my parents.
You mean you knew you had a court date and you didn't show up? That requires an answer, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
That was pretty stupid. That was pretty stupid. How old are you?
18.
Did you tell your parents you had a court date?
Yeah, when we were in Utah.
Oh, the more I spend time here, the more I love my children.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I believe, no matter what you tell me, that you selected a picture of her different from the one that she had selected just to give her an old zinger.
And later today...
Well, he didn't give us much of a chance, really, to get out of the way. He used his car as a battering ram.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 18-year-old Audra Sullivan Rice is suing her classmate and editor of their high school yearbook, Sarah Gardner, claiming Sarah deliberately selected an ugly photo for her senior portrait. Sarah claims it wasn't her job to pick the photos.
The picture of you in the yearbook isn't terrible. As a matter of fact, I think I like it a little bit better than the one you selected. I do, however, think that there was some design to get that picture in there. It just seems too coincidental to me that she's in charge of the yearbook, she can't stand you, you pick a picture and a different picture goes in there, right? And there's all just too much coincidence that doesn't sit comfortably with me. But if she picked the wrong picture, truth of the matter is, I think she picked a better one. So I don't think you should be that discouraged. Okay. And Miss Gardner, there's a certain thing about misusing your authority. If anything, you should have been far more careful about selecting her picture, as making sure it was the right picture.
Right, but there was no specification.
Oh, yes, there was. You keep saying there was no specification, and I'm telling you.
There were a lot of seniors who did come to my attention that they did specifically pick a picture, and then they
Look
weren't
at the back
on
of the picture. Would you hands on the picture? I don't want them to touch each other. Right? What does that say back there?
Actually, I did not.
I didn't ask you what you see. I asked you what it said back there.
Yearbook selection.
Okay. Bottom line is, I believe, no matter what you tell me, that you selected a picture of her different from the one that she had selected just to give her an old zinger. The fact that you happen to have picked one that wasn't terrible and that I really think is much nicer is really not the issue. It's not, you're not damaged $3,500 worth, madam.
What I wanted to
You're
do
not
is-
damaged $3,000 by this photograph. You damaged maybe a lesson. So what's a lesson? Lesson is $100, Bird.
That's good.
$100 for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
Parties on Gorman versus Siemens. Step forward, please.
Mike Gorman says, while attempting to retrieve a package during a UPS strike, picketer Don Siemens pounded his sign on the hood of his car, causing severe damage.
All right, Mr. Gorman, you were expecting an important package that was to arrive, unfortunately, during the UPS strike.
That's correct.
And you had to go and pick that package up at the warehouse, correct?
Yes.
Your complaint alleges that when you went there, the defendant was one of the strikers, he was online, and he damaged your car.
That's correct.
You want to tell me what happened, please?
Yes, actually, I made arrangements to have the package shipped to me by FedEx because of...
Listen, sir, I got other cases to do today.
I understand.
At some point, you had to go and pick up your package at the UPS warehouse.
That's correct.
You're in your car.
I'm in my car.
And you're driving there.
Yes.
And what do you see?
The strikers were blocking the returning trucks, and I circled the block numerous times until the police finally arrived. I went in with the returning trucks, picked up my package, and when I left, I knew it was going to be trouble. And several of the strikers were marching very close and impeding my exit. And they started jumping on the front of my car and on the trunk. They were pounding on the windows, cursing at me, chanting slogans. I inched along, and the police finally came over and removed the people on my car.
They were actually on your car?
Oh, yes, ma'am. At least 8 of them.
Okay.
On the front and the back. And Mr. Siemens was the last to be removed. And when he exited, he took his sign and pounded it into my hood. And I immediately stopped the car, and the police separated us, and he went over and took our names and information.
What was the cost of the damage to your car?
Approximately $500.
You have the bill?
I do.
All right, Mr. Siemens.
I think he's living in a fantasy world. I can't believe this.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you interrupting me? Two people can't talk at the same time. And when my mouth is moving, you have to be quiet.
This is Real People. Judge Judy. Mike Gorman is suing UPS worker Don Siemens for damaging his car with a picket sign during a strike. Don says he was only trying to get out of the way when Mike drove through the picket line, nearly running him over.
You're on strike.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
You're circling.
We were walking the sidewalk there, yes, back and forth.
So tell me what happened.
Well, he didn't give us much of a chance really to get out of the way. He used his car as a battering ram and knocked us, some of us out of the way, myself onto the hood, and trying to get off of the hood the best I could. I guess my sign hit his car somehow.
What were you doing in front of his car?
Well, we were on the picket line.
No, what were you, not we.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What were you doing?
I'm sorry.
Listen, you're walking around with a sign, Mr. Siemens.
Back
You
and forth.
see his car. You have several choices. You can either move to the side and make way for him to leave.
He didn't give us enough time, Your
No.
Honor. No, he didn't, honest. There was about 20 of us out there, 15 to 20 of us. And he hit 5 or 6 of us. Jason was there to contest it.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Sure.
Okay, we were ordered by our union to go on strike.
We're all in front of the building, striking. The plaintiff comes, he did not even slow down. He almost hit 3 of us when he was coming in, did not slow down. I don't know where he's getting this, oh, I inched in, inched out. He didn't do anything. Okay, so when he's coming out, we had more people come out to block him because this is ridiculous, the fact that he came in and almost ran us over. I mean, we're pedestrians.
Just a second.
All right.
You just said a very important thing, sir. You said you had a lot more people out there to block him. That's what you just said.
Right. Well, we set up.
Just a sec. Hey, that's exactly what he said, sir. He said there were people blocking him, cursing at him. Right? Mr. Cronky.
We were telling him to stop.
You were telling him to stop what?
Because I was right in front of his car, and we were telling him to stop because he was running me over. His bumper was pushing right into my legs.
Why didn't you just walk away, Mr. Cronky?
Because he was already running into me at the time, Your Honor.
No, Mr. Cronky. My recollection of the UPS strike is that there were managers driving the trucks, correct?
Well, while the policemen were there.
Yes, is that correct?
Yes, management.
And is it also correct that they were being heckled, for want of a better term, as the trucks were going in and out?
We were just stopping them from doing their course of business. We were setting up a picket line.
You were stopping them
Yes. We were not
from going into their building.
Isn't that the whole purpose of a picket line?
Yes.
Isn't that the purpose of a picket line?
Just
No, sir.
We're disrupting?
No, sir. That's not the purpose of a picket line. Let me ask you this question, sir. Do you believe that if this gentleman was going to pick up his package and he had a clear path to go into...
He didn't have a clear path, Your Honor.
Are you interrupting me? Two people can't talk at the same time. And when my mouth is moving, you have to be quiet. Do you think that if this man, who was doing nothing more than going to pick up his package, got there, saw your picket line, and there was a path for him to go in, pick up his package, and come out, we would be standing here today? No.
He went in about 30 miles an hour also into the driveway. And on the way out, there were more pickets for him to go through.
There were,
what right does that give him to run into us, Your Honor?
I don't believe, sir, that he ran into you. I believe that you were blocking him. That's what he just said. They brought out a whole bunch of other people to block him. That's what your witness just said to me, Mr. Siemens.
We walked back and forth the street. That's what a picket line's for.
I believe at the time I was a pedestrian and an automobile hit me. Is there something right with that?
That's what you believe?
Yeah, what right does
That's what you believe? How many people were out there on the picket line by the time he came out?
Approximately 20.
Okay, so there are 20 people, and he's one person in his car. Do you think that that's intimidating with people yelling and screaming and cursing? You think that that's intimidating? You can't tell me that you weren't yelling at the people who were going into...
No, ma'am.
Mr. Siemens.
We were not yelling.
He wasn't there for any other purpose than to pick up his package.
We had no
and
idea.
run over a few people. That's all right.
Well, run over a few people.
I don't see how that gives them the right to run over, to hit us.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You have no right to inhibit him from going to pick up his package in any way. What if it contained insulin for his baby that he needed? You didn't give a damn. It didn't make any difference. What was in this package?
Excuse me.
It could have been penicillin. It could have been a heart transplant. It could have been anything else. The fact that it was, what was it, computer equipment or something?
It was an item I needed for my business.
Your business was impeding business as usual for UPS. That's a legitimate thing to do as far as a strike is concerned, letting people know you're on strike, that you have a grievance. He's an individual citizen, and he has a right to go and pick up his property. And if he chooses to go through your picket line, he chooses to do that. That's his choice. And you have no right to impede that. You owe him $461.85, which was the cost to fix his car. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues.
Sandoval versus Gentry. Step forward, please.
25-year-old Rich Sandoval says his former girlfriend, Sandy Gentry, 23, falsely led him to believe that he was the father of her child. When he discovered he was not the father, he filed a $5,000 suit claiming emotional distress.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 261 on the calendar in the matter of Sandoval versus Gentry. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Sandoval, according to your papers, sir, you and the defendant dated briefly and were romantically involved, were sexually intimate.
Yes.
And there came a time when you broke up.
Yes.
And during that time, you were pregnant, had a baby. Is that right?
Yes.
And you called him and told him that you would have the baby.
Yes. Yeah.
And invited him to come over to see the baby.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what you said to him?
Yes, when we were at my house, I had told him that I had been with another person, but I was pretty sure that he had been the father because I had used a condom with the other guy that I was with. So I let him know straight up that I had been with another guy. So.
Did she tell you that, sir?
No.
Hmm? She never told you that?
No, she did not.
That doesn't make sense, madam, that you would tell him that when you invite him over to see the baby and say, listen, this could be yours and it couldn't be yours. In any event, she told you that the baby was yours?
That's correct.
And at that time, according to these papers, you weren't living close to each other.
That's correct.
Where were you living, sir?
I was living in Stockton with my mother.
And where were you living?
I was living in Hayward with my parents.
And how far is that away?
About 50 miles.
And you moved?
Yes, I moved to be near the child.
Did you take an apartment?
I rented a house with my friend.
And you were visiting the baby?
Yes.
How often?
About at least 3 times a week.
Would you go over to her parents' house?
Yes, I would.
Is that right?
I did.
A couple times, yes.
So he would come over and visit with the baby. Were you present when he visited with the baby?
Yes.
Did you hold the baby?
Yes, I did.
Did you feed the baby?
Yes, I did.
Did he?
Yes.
Did you take the baby out?
Yes, I did. Sometimes with her, sometimes away from her.
And for how long did this go on?
From the time she was about 3.5 weeks till she was about 5.5 months.
So for 5.5 months, for 5 months, you spent a lot of time with the baby.
Yes.
And then there came a time when you were called into court for child support.
No, that's not true.
What happened?
I initiated court proceedings against her because she would not give me any access to the child whatsoever.
Well, what happened that stopped this free flow of visitation that you had?
We began having problems arguing over money and things because she didn't think that I was trying hard enough to look for work.
So you were arguing over something?
Yes.
Did there come a time when you told him that he wasn't to see the baby anymore?
Yes, he was harassing me at work. He kept calling me. I told him not to call me in case of an emergency. He'd called me anyway, over and over again.
What would he call you about?
What are you doing? I'm at work. I'm working, you know?
Yes.
And as I said, you know, just please call me, you know, if there's an emergency, and he would call me just any time.
Well, what did that have to do with the baby?
He would go over the babysitter's house. You know, she asked him to call first. He wouldn't call first. He just started showing up over there. It's just, it's just a bunch of things that just came down to it. I don't...
So you told him that he couldn't see the baby anymore. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So you went to court.
Yes, I did.
And when you went to court, you had a blood test.
Yes, and it excluded me.
And the blood test said that you could not possibly be the biological father of this child.
That's correct.
And then what happened, sir? Because that's not the only thing that you're suing her for, the fact that she misled you.
I got served papers at my aunt's house in March, on March 20th, and I received the papers by April.
And that was the state calling you into court for child support.
Correct.
Because you had listed his name as the father.
And the welfare department, they have you put down...
No, listen to me. Just answer my question.
Yes.
You had listed his name as the father.
And the other guy also. They have you put down whoever the father could be on a child support paper. And so, you know, you put down both of them and they go from there.
So you were called into court again, sir?
Yes. And I was told that they would start detaching my wages, taking my taxes. And I sent them copies of this paternity test, and, I mean, they wouldn't hear it. They said because there was 2 parties that took the test that I had to resubmit it again.
So you took the test again?
Yes, I did.
And it again excluded you?
Yes, correct.
Did you have to pay for the blood test?
The second one? No, I did not.
Did you have to pay for the first one?
Yes, I did.
How much did you have to pay for the first one?
I believe it was $440.
Did you have to pay for a lawyer?
No, I represented myself completely.
Did you have any other expenses, sir, as a result of this proceeding? Out-of-pocket expenses?
Out of my pocket?
Yes.
Court fees?
How much were the court fees?
$370.
Anything else?
No.
Now, for my own information, Miss Gentry, what happened when they blood tested the other man who you claimed that you named?
They're still trying to find him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So as painful as it is right now to you, taught you a very good lesson. You want to fool around? Cover up.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 25-year-old Rich Sandoval says when a court-ordered paternity test proved he was not the father of Sandy Gentry's baby, he sued for emotional stress. Sandy says she made an honest mistake and is being harassed by Mr. Sandoval.
You working now?
No, I'm not.
Why not?
I'm trying to establish where I'm living and, you know, I'm trying to get a job, yes.
Where were you working before?
Just odd jobs through a temp agency.
So why did you stop working?
Because I just couldn't handle it anymore. I couldn't handle him. He came to my work, or someone came to my work, and I just couldn't take the harassment anymore.
What harassment?
From him. And I just couldn't take it anymore. What was going on?
Well, explain to me what was going on, Miss Gentry. I don't understand what was going on.
Well, it's just he would harass me, and he would...
That's a conclusion. How did he harass you?
He would call me, he would threaten me.
How did he threaten you?
He threatened me and my friend over the phone.
What did he say, madam?
That he was, if I didn't watch out, I was going to be shot, things like that.
Did you ever say that to her? You know, the problem, Miss Gentry, is when a court gets the impression that somebody's a liar, they question everything that they say. Now, you told this man that he was the father of this child. He believed you.
I did tell him that there was another guy, that there was a possibility that the other guy might have been the father, but...
I don't believe that. It doesn't strike me as being accurate, madam, that you gave him any suggestion whatsoever that this was not his child, because if you did, it is unlikely that he would have left his mother's house and moved to be closer to the baby, that he would have gone over and spent days with this baby, bonding with this baby, feeding her according to you, holding her, taking her out, taking her to... You're his mother?
Yes.
Did he used to bring the baby to your house?
Yes.
Visiting a grandmother, getting this whole family involved with this baby. If you had said to him, listen, there's a chance the baby's not yours, doesn't make sense. That's why I think you're a liar. And I think you're a liar when you say that he threatened to shoot you. And I do. I do.
I have my witness right here.
Oh, yes, step up.
Yeah.
Step up. Let me hear your witness. Who are you?
I'm Gina.
Gina what?
Gina Ita.
How do you know her?
My brother is dating her. And
your brother's dating her?
Uh-huh.
Another genius.
Through the times that she moved out of her mother's house and was living with me for a while.
What was she living with you for?
To get back on her feet.
But was she dating your brother at the time?
Uh-huh.
What do you want to tell me about these threats, madam? You have anything to tell me firsthand?
For threats, yeah, he has called. He said, you better watch your back. I will get you.
Okay. And under what circumstance did he say that to you?
He called up.
Called up for what?
For no reason. Harassing. He called up for no reason.
Was his child living in your house?
Yes, she was.
Sit down. Listen, Mr. Sandoval.
Yes.
When you had sexual relations with this lady, did you use protection?
No, I didn't.
Dumb.
I know.
Very dumb. You almost deserve what you get if you don't use protection. You know?
True.
What you got was a story that you had a child, but you could have gotten was a lot worse.
That's correct.
Right?
Yes.
And I think she's as manipulative as can be, because she let you see the baby, then she stopped you from seeing the baby, she found a new boyfriend, she moved out of her mother's house, her mother probably was fed up with her. She moved into the sister's house of the boyfriend. Sounds to me as if your baby's going to need a lot of luck. Baby's got a father who's off someplace else. We don't know who he is right now. We're in the third relationship that I know about. Him, the one who's in the wind, who maybe is the father, and this new boyfriend. So what are you suing for, sir?
I'm suing for loss of wages from when I left in February up until present time now.
Now listen.
The cost that it took me to relocate from my mother's house to move down there to be near this child.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What you're saying, it does not sound logical. And if it doesn't sound logical, to me, it didn't happen.
And later today,
there are blue chip stocks to invest in if you want to invest your money. Rave parties are not smart. Got it?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
You're suing her for a lot of money. You want $5,000 in damages. And I don't think that there's probably any way that you're going to get $5,000, but I think she certainly has to pay you for every bit of out-of-pocket expenses that you have, plus something for punitive damages, because I think that she caused you a great deal of heartache.
Yes, she did.
You shaking your head no?
I'm just... Huh? I just don't understand why you don't believe that I didn't tell him that.
Why don't I believe it? It's not logical. You used him for the first few months until you found somebody else. And when you found somebody else, that's her brother, then you decided to cut him off. And when you decided to cut him off because you were too busy with another social event in your life, then he started to call and he wanted to see the baby. You were cutting him off. So he was forced at that point to go to the family court to establish his parental rights and establish visitation. That all sounds very, very logical. And what you're saying, it does not sound logical. And if it doesn't sound logical, to me, it didn't happen. The truth of the matter is, Mr. Sandoval, it was a good thing that she stopped you from seeing the baby, because you could have gone on for 5 years.
That's correct.
Been paying all kinds of child support, allowed to further bond with this baby, and you would never have known that she wasn't yours. You could have gone on for 20 years, and all of a sudden you needed a blood transfusion. You take her blood, and they say to you, sorry, this baby that you've loved for 20 years really isn't yours. So as painful as it is right now to you, it was only 5 months worth of pain at your age, and taught you a very good lesson. You want to fool around? Cover up. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
I guess he just wants money. I don't know what he wants.
No, justice. There's a difference.
Whatever.
And now the next case.
All parties on Light versus Betts. Step forward, please.
Nancy Light is suing Ann Betts on behalf of her 2 children, 17-year-old Alexis and 15-year-old Aaron. Alexis and Aaron claim they invested $600 in a rave dance concert. They say they got ripped off and want their money back.
Who is Alexis?
That'd be me.
And you are how old?
I'm 17.
You're her mom?
Yeah.
And her brother?
Yeah.
Why don't the two of you sit down for a moment and just leave Alexis right here? All right. According to these papers, you were planning a rave party. Yes. Is that pronounced correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to tell me what that is in a minute. And the plaintiff invested $600 in this party, and she received for her $600 $250 at the party's conclusion. She's suing you for the rest. Is that right?
Correct.
So who's going to tell me first what a rave party is?
It's an all-ages, non-alcoholic dance event. It's music that usually we bring lighting and sound in, and goes from 8 p.m. until 6 or 7 a.m. Spend anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 on a party, and it's to provide like all ages of children with things to do, kids and adults. And it's not a club scene, it's not an alcoholic thing.
Is that what you do for a living, plan these parties?
No, it's just an extra thing that I do.
Okay. What prompted you to solicit funds from somebody who was a minor?
She wanted to invest in the party.
How did you know her?
She comes to parties.
Is that what happened?
We were friends. We were somewhat close friends going into this, and
I guess, March, before the party, she asked my brother and I, actually my brother first, if he would like to invest, which was more like a loan, not really an investment. It was a loan that we would be getting paid back, because she knew that my mom was weary about letting us loan her this money because it's a large investment.
And according to your answer, at least, your defense to this lawsuit is twofold, right? You say, one, the party didn't make enough money, and second, because she's a minor, you couldn't enter into a valid contract with her.
We didn't have anything in writing. It was an investment, and when you make money, you make, and you lose, you lose.
I have a written statement here from Ann that was given to me the night after the party. I don't know, do you want to see this, or do you want me to read it to you, what it says?
Is that something you wrote to her?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Well, read me the pertinent part.
It will only take a few weeks of busting overtime and work and living clean, and you'll have my word. You'll have my word that I will have your money back ASAP. I am only sorry things didn't work out any easier. I will pay every penny back plus some interest. Thank you so much for your help and participation. Sincerely, Ann.
Sound familiar?
Yes.
So what happened?
Well, the other guy who was involved in the party stole about $3,000 from the party, and I was forced to pay back all the investment, which was like, he didn't pay any of it back, and I've paid all of it back but about $200. And since this has been written, I only owe them $200 now. There's another $150 that, of course, wasn't receipted, but she knows that I gave it to her after the last event.
Yes, she did.
So that all she owes you now is $200?
Yeah.
All right.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Miss Betts, I wanted to find out what this rave party was, and I wanted to find out what your story was. Bottom line is, your second premise to defend in defense of this lawsuit is wholly 100% incorrect under the law. When you enter into a contract with a minor, you do so at your own peril. You knew she was a minor, that she is incapable of entering into a valid contract, whether it be an investment or a loan. Therefore, anyone who enters into a contract with a minor, there is no contract. That money has to be paid back to her, because dealing with her, even though she's pretty smart, pretty savvy, and she sounds like she doesn't take any baloney from anybody, it's no different dealing with her than it would be dealing with someone who was 8 years old in the eyes of the law. So you couldn't go over to somebody, an 8-year-old who was running a lemonade stand on the corner and say, would you like to invest $25 in my rave party? You can't do that. So you owe her the $200. Be smart. You have to learn something before you involve yourself in business.
Well, yeah. I trusted her, though, and that's
It's not a question of trust. It's a question of knowing what you know. At your age, you don't know a lot. Right?
Right.
You don't know a lot. You don't know a lot about business. You don't know a lot about people. Your mother probably does. But you don't.
She does. She knows a lot.
That's why the law protects children from sometimes unscrupulous people who prey on young children to take their money out of their savings account, to take their money out of their piggy bank, to take their money out of their college fund, and invest in all kinds of harebrained schemes. There are blue chip stocks to invest in if you want to invest your money. Rave parties are not smart. Got it? Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
And the defendant has in his possession pictures of you and has been selling them and is not authorized to have them or sell them. You want $5,000 in damages.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why don't you tell me how he came into possession of these pictures and why you think that you're damaged to the tune of $5,000?
Well, Your Honor, my wife had arranged a public appearance with the defendant. I was to appear, and what I was promoting at the time was a couple posters that I had and also a calendar which I'd worked on. It was a project of 2 years. This is one of the pictures that will be in question. The agreement was to appear for approximately 2 hours, which was fine, and I would be signing autographs of the posters, and that's all that I was aware of at the time.
Signing the posters.
Posters, correct. And
are you a model by trade, sir?
yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
And I do have a portfolio here. This is my livelihood. And
Okay. And Mr. Muniz? Muniz, you have a store that's called Baby Jane's of Hollywood?
Yes.
What kind of store is this?
Celebrity collectibles.
And how do you make your money?
Normally selling stills and posters and autographs. We have autograph sessions a couple times a year.
And is this one of those autograph sessions that
Yes.
you arranged for?
Mrs. Bazzini came to us to carry his posters, and she wanted to sell us all the posters. We don't normally stock non-movie posters. So what we agreed with her was we would give him 100% of the money for the poster sales as long as he would sign the other photographs that we had, which were from a Playgirl layout from 1985. He was Man of the Year. But we asked if she could supply us with another photo that was current and that he had clothes on, that we could use at the press and that he could sign at the event.
How many photographs were you supposed to get for you to sell in exchange for letting him come in and sign his posters and sell them?
We printed 50 of each image. There are 3 images.
So you had 150
Yes.
altogether that was supposed to be your property, and you were supposed to keep 100% of the revenues from those?
No, he would get $5 for every signature that he put onto a photo. And if people came in with their own items, like their copies of Playgirl, he would get $5 for that also.
Your Honor, the defendant had mentioned to me prior to me arriving, would you object to signing other photographs if people brought them along? And I said, no, I'll accommodate that, and that's no problem.
Is that relevant?
Yes, it is.
How?
Because halfway during the, or not even halfway during, they started bringing pictures that was this picture, which I had no idea at the time that was printed up. This was not to be printed up. This is a project, Your Honor, that is in progress. I have not sold this yet.
Who started bringing those pictures?
Some of the fans that were lining up had a couple. There wasn't many. Most of them were the Playgirl, which I really didn't know that was going to happen either. That they would.
Well, they had to get that picture from someplace, sir.
Well, they got it from Mr. Moniz, which I didn't understand.
How did he get that?
I gave him, not this particular picture, a larger, I believe, 11 by 14 print. My wife brought it to him to advertise that I would be there on January 11th. Your Honor, this is my livelihood. I'll just
Mr.
give you,
Bazzini, I'm trying to understand.
I'll give you an example.
No, don't give me an example. I'm not.
Well, this is.
Listen to me.
Okay, ma'am.
Put it down. Put it down.
I'm trying to show you my work, what I do for a lot of money, my livelihood, to raise my children and my family.
Mr. Bazzini, this is a court, sir. Evidently, from your papers, and he acknowledges that you signed a bunch of them quickly, and he kept some of them. Is that correct?
No, they were. He was paid for everything that he signed. There were leftover unsigned ones. So in the interim between the December appearance and today, probably 5 photos have been sold that were unsigned.
And how much did you sell them for?
$15.
A piece?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Bazzini, that's what this lawsuit is about. Those, let us just say they were 5.
Even if it's 1, yes.
Okay. I want you to explain to me how you were damaged for $5,000.
Your Honor, if I can physically show you the type of work that I've done that has brought me this commercial reel that I have is $1 million.
Bazzini, this is not an opportunity for you to impress me with your work, sir.
No.
Well, I want you to explain to me how you're damaged. You sat at a desk, sir, and signed for $5 a piece the same pictures that he sold unsigned for $15 a piece. So it's not as if you didn't give away those pictures or sell those pictures when you were sitting there. So I don't understand where you come to $5,000, sir.
Ma'am, when I have a letter here, if you will, from my agent that explains what I make per image. My agreement with Mr. Moniz was entirely to promote something, correct? It was.
Just a minute, Mr. Bazzini, you're not following me. This is not a situation where they're invading your privacy, that they're using unauthorized pictures of you, that they're that they're doing something in an underhanded fashion, they had some leftover pictures. You shouldn't have done that. You acknowledge, sir, that you shouldn't have sold those pictures. That wasn't part of your agreement.
Well, in movie memorabilia, that's what everything is the leftover pictures from press kits. And
I know, but was it your understanding with his wife that you could keep those?
I understood that we could. If it was a problem, he's more than... I mean, we could love to destroy the photos.
You want to say something?
I'm the co-owner of Baby Jane of Hollywood.
Roy Wyndham.
Yes.
And our entire agreement with Mr. Bazzini appearing was through his wife. We never once talked to Mr. Bazzini on the phone before the signing.
That's a lie.
I kept asking the wife, actually talking to a machine, saying that we need a current photograph for the day of the signing, and we needed a current photograph of him so we could advertise it, because the photograph that we had was him nude. And we can't advertise those in local newspapers.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I think your ego maybe is a little too big. You know, our story is Baby Jane of Hollywood, not Brian Bazzini of Hollywood.
And later today...
I don't think that once you pass the age of 2 or 3, you ought to show your rear end in public. So you keep the photographs.
Yes, I will.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 34-year-old model Brian Bazzini is suing the owner of Baby Janes of Hollywood, Charles Muniz, for selling unauthorized photographs. Mr. Muniz says it was an oversight and not done out of malice.
We're talking about the leftover pictures, pictures that you made extra of that were not used at the signing.
Correct.
That he is angry about because he said he was not paid for those pictures.
We paid for everything to be printed. We paid for everything to be made. And when he came in, everything was available for customers to purchase that day. And he saw the quantity that we had of each.
So?
And the remainder was there to be sold.
Well, but that's what he's saying. He's saying it was not his understanding that the remainder was going to stay with you to be sold. Is that what you're complaining
Honor,
about?
I didn't even know that these pictures existed. And if you could put yourself in the situation, you have
Where's
100
your
people
wife?
in line.
Where's your wife?
My wife was with my children.
Just a second.
She was 9 months pregnant.
Where's your wife
at the time.
today?
Today she's with my daughter at the doctor.
Mr. Bazzini.
Well, I think
You want to tell me what doctor it is? I'll give him a call.
Oh, I don't know.
Huh? I'm good at that. You want to tell me what doctor? Your wife was there, and your wife was the one who negotiated with these people what they were supposed to do. We haven't. Why don't you sit down?
I have a picture here that he signed. This is a photograph that he's complaining about. They autographed to me the day of the signing, so he knew that we had available in the store. He knew they were sold.
Your Honor, after
he
the
wrote
fact,
on there,
I'm sitting there with 100 people in
the
line.
hospitality.
Sit down, sir.
Your
We're
Honor,
reaching a point, sir, where I'm getting frustrated because...
I'm getting frustrated also. I have 100 people in line. I can't stop it. I'll look like a damn prima donna. Pardon me. I look like a prima donna. I mean, what am I supposed to do? These pictures are starting to come. It's my understanding that I'm selling posters. I've traveled all over the world, and if you'd allow me to show you something, I could give you an idea of what I make.
Sir,
I make $5,000
This is not an
per
opportunity
appearance. Not $5. I was doing that more as a favor and to get something circulated.
Mr. Bazzini,
with a new.
You're full of baloney. Let me tell you why you're full of baloney, sir.
I've got letters.
Let me tell you why you're full of baloney, sir.
Here.
You're full of baloney, A, because your wife entered into these negotiations. You did not. Your wife is not here today. There's a reason for it, and it's not because she's with the doctor with your child. 2, you still haven't told me today why you believe you're entitled to $5,000. Your complaint is that he sold the pictures without your autograph, 5 of them, and you say that you're damaged to the tune of $5,000 when you sat there yourself and signed the same pictures for $5 a piece.
Can I clarify something?
Go ahead.
I questioned it the first time this picture was presented to me to sign. I said, this is a project. I don't want this picture out. That's like revealing the cover of your book to the public before people see it. I questioned it. They said it's for a few of your wonderful fans or your best fans. Somebody said that, and I said, how do you define who's the best fan here? And I said, okay, fine. I mean, I'm sitting there in front of a bunch of people, ma'am. I don't want to make a ruckus.
Just a second. So you said, okay, fine, and you signed them.
The alternative was to walk out. Does that make me look?
Alternative.
That doesn't make me look too
That's your
great in front of people that
sir.
sat in line for
Listen
me,
to
Your
me,
Honor.
sir.
I mean,
that's your option. If they presented you with pictures and you didn't want to sign them, you could have said, I'm not signing those. I'm just signing my posters, or I'll sign the photographs that people come with.
Well, that's good publicity.
Fine.
I
You
mean,
sold 5 pictures of him?
Yes.
And you sold them for $15 a piece?
Yes. Ma'am, can I just show you a letter from my agent?
No.
To give you an idea? I mean,
Absolutely not. I'm not
I
interested in a letter from your
work
agent.
here that is billboards all over the world for 5, 10, 20 grand.
Mr. Bozzini, how much did you make for the...
that.
Hey.
Pardon me?
How much did you make for the whole day?
Somewhere around $700-800.
That's not $5,000, sir. So it seems that at least on some occasions you work for less than $5,000 a day. The judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $75, which is the amount of the 5 pictures, the most that you sold. Fares of $15 a piece. That's all.
Parties are excused. Step out, please.
No witness. If everybody could just take a damn picture of me, then I guess I wouldn't have much of a profession. That's like having vigilantes do the work for Judge Judy. Guess she'd be out of a job, wouldn't she? Might be a good idea.
And now the next case.
Parties on McKenzie versus Cooper. Step forward, please.
62-year-old Betty McKenzie says 72-year-old Lonnie Cooper knocked her to the floor while she was in line at her bank. Lonnie says it was Betty who did the shoving.
So you two people are on line in a bank. You never saw each other before, is that right?
That's right.
You say this nice gentleman over here assaulted you. He says that you assaulted him. I can hardly believe that, looking at the two of you. So, Miss McKenzie, let me hear your version of what happened at this bank.
Okay. He was on my right.
You're on line?
Yes, I'm in the line. He was on the right.
What was he doing on the right?
He was at a teller.
He was at the teller?
He was at the teller.
So he was in front of you and to the right?
That's right. Okay. I was getting ready, the man was getting ready to come out the teller on my left. The man dropped a piece of paper.
Which man dropped a piece of paper?
The man that was coming out the teller on my left.
So what happened?
I told him he dropped a piece of paper. He said, forget it. And he walked on out the door. The man on my right, he gonna come in front of me to pick up the piece of paper with his right hand.
That's this gentleman?
Yes, and take his left hand and knock me to the floor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your lawyer thought you were going to be able to get a lot of money from the bank. And it wasn't the bank's fault because Mr. Cooper had bad manners.
Yeah.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 62-year-old Betty McKenzie says while standing in line at her bank, 72-year-old Lonnie Cooper knocked her to the floor. Mr. Cooper denies any wrongdoing and claims Ms. McKenzie was the one who caused the disturbance.
Mr. Cooper?
Yeah. In the first place, it was on the right-hand side of the teller. And the fellow, the elderly gentleman in front of me, dropped most of his stuff. And I reached down to try to help him. And she busted on past. And I did this to her. I didn't know what it was. And in turn, she wound up over in there.
What do you mean, Mr. Cooper? She brushed on past you.
Well, she was behind me, so she didn't have no business in front of me.
Just a second. What do you mean she brushed on past you, Mr. Cooper?
Yeah, just like that. And
who is this?
It's a witness.
Is that your witness?
A character witness.
I'm not interested in a character witness. I assume that you're both characters. Because anybody who can get involved in this has got to be a character. Now listen to me. You stand up for a second. I want you to show me how she brushed on past you.
Come on. See the...
You're her. So tell me, show me what she did to you.
The elderly gentleman was up front.
Right.
And I was here and trying to help him with his stuff.
Right.
And then she come past me, and I shoved her like that, and she went over into the...
Right.
See, she was behind me.
I understand that, sir. Mr. Cooper, step back to where the microphone is. Sit down. Mr. Cooper, why did you push her?
She came brush past. I told you I was standing in front trying to help the fella which the paper was on the floor.
Why did you push her?
I didn't push. She came past just like that.
No, you pushed her. You just told me that you pushed her.
But it was on the right-hand side.
I don't care if right, left, middle. It doesn't make any difference, Mr. Cooper. You pushed this lady down. You had no right to do that, sir.
Well?
Yes, that's what you told me. You told me that you pushed her. And she fell. She's not 12 years old. You pushed the lady, she fell down.
Around pushing women.
Well, but you did push
and
her,
if she had
sir.
acted like a lady and stayed in the line like she's supposed to, this would never be happening.
Mr. Cooper, you are not a... Shh.
Order.
Mr. Cooper, you are not a behavior monitor, a bank behavior monitor. If she did something wrong, you might have said something to her, but you had no right to push her. Now, Miss McKenzie, my question to you is
I didn't intend to push her. I wouldn't have to push her if she had stayed back there where she was supposed to be.
Okay. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Cooper. You're not following me, sir.
Okay.
Miss McKenzie, you say you were injured.
Yes,
How were
I
you
was.
injured, madam?
Like I said, he pushed me to the floor hard. My ear, my back, my legs, I got photos of it.
Can I see it, please? Ooh, that's a nasty. That's just between you and me, okay? Do you have doctor's reports?
Yes, I do.
May I see them, please? I don't think that once you pass the age of 2 or 3, you ought to show your rear end in public. I mean, that's a... So you keep the photographs.
Yes, I will.
How would she get past me if I'm in front of her?
Mr. Cooper, stop being a nudnik.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You had medical bills of $2,645?
That's one of them.
When did this incident occur? What date?
The 4th of March.
This wouldn't have happened if she had been a lady and stayed back there where she was supposed to be, but she wanted to be bullheaded.
Mr. Cooper, she has a lot of medical bills here, and you did the wrong thing. You have medical bills that are about $3,000, $4,000. Were any of them reimbursed by your insurance?
No.
Why not?
I had got a lawyer at first, but he had thought it was the bank. And then when he found out it wasn't a bank, then I
he
had to take
dropped
it on my... Yes.
Don't you have medical insurance?
I had Medicaid.
Did you submit these bills to Medicaid?
No, well, my doctor had told me not to do that.
Your doctor told you not to do that because your lawyer thought he was going to be able to work up a big medical bill so that you were going to be able to get a lot of money from the bank. Right. And it wasn't the bank's fault because Mr. Cooper had bad manners.
Yeah.
But I think, Mr. Cooper, that what you did to this lady was wrong, and she suffered for months as a result of your pushing her. She's suing for $5,000. That's what I'm giving her, $5,000, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Out the back door to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Teeters, Holman versus Slatter. Step forward, please.
25-year-old Cammie Holman says 24-year-old vacuum salesman Jeffrey Slater swept her off her feet, conning her and her mother, Lois Teeters, out of thousands of dollars. Jeffrey says after he and Cammie split up, she began harassing him for money.
Order. All rise. This is number 252 on the calendar in the matter of Teeters, Holman versus Slatter. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Who's Mrs. Teeters? Is that you? Miss Holman? Ma'am. Mother and daughter. Former live-in boyfriend.
Correct.
I have 2 complaints here, and according to both complaints, at some point you met him and he moved into your house. Your house. And did you move in there with your child, sir?
Yes.
You have a daughter?
Yes.
How old is she?
3.
You have custody of her?
Not full custody, no.
Were you living with her full time when you moved into their house?
With my daughter, partial time, half and half.
Okay. And according to the complaint, during the time that he lived there, each of you were foolish enough to let him use a credit card, and he ran up substantial bills on those credit cards, and then took off. Why don't you start? First, what prompted you to let him move into the house?
Well, I was going to rent a room to somebody anyway to help me make ends meet, and they were getting together, and he was interested in moving out from his mother's place. She was driving him nuts or something, so he needed a place to live. So it worked out. It seemed fine for both of us.
But according to these papers, he moved into your daughter's room.
Yes, they were a couple by then.
So that didn't help to pay your bills if...
Well, he was going to pay rent, yes. He was paying rent.
He was paying rent?
Yes, he paid the rent.
How much rent did he pay?
$400 a month.
Okay, now would you mind telling me why you gave him a credit card?
It started out just, you know, he wanted to make some purchases and he only got paid every 2 weeks, and he was gaining weight, needed clothes and what have you, and he would give me a post-dated check. And I let him do that, and he did. The first couple of purchases, he gave me a check, and I held it, and then, you know, when he got paid and it was good, I mailed it in to the credit card company.
Did you give him his own credit card, or did you just let him use yours?
No, he had authorization. Cammie has copies of my cards. We have, you know, 2 cards on the account, so if she was with him and they were shopping, they would get something and put it on my card. And he gave me a check and paid me back. So the first 2 or 3 times, you know, that was swell, it worked. And he wanted to make some larger purchases, and the arrangement...
Like what?
Oh, well, he was trying to build his car to race, so he wanted like a transmission, and he had this good deal and a converter and different things that he was buying. And the arrangement was that he would make the payments to the credit card company, and that worked for me because then I didn't have to come up with the minimum. My minimum would be met. And he would get behind, like it would be 2 or 3 months. I'd get phone calls from the creditors, and they'd say, "You're behind," and I would check with him, and he'd say, "Oh, I mailed it, I'll call them and straighten it out." So he did make some small payments on the minimums on the account. I can't say for the first few months because it would be 2 or 3 months before he made a payment, but you see, you know,
Okay, now
over a
how much
period
does
of
he
time.
owe altogether on your credit card? Take it out. We'll show it to him. Together with the purchases.
The total that that I have mine made up for is $4,926.60. That's documented amounts.
Okay. Have you shown those to him, those charges?
Yes, he has copies. He
You
has
have
been
copies
given
of those,
copies
sir?
in the past of
I've
all
had
of them.
copies. I don't have them with me now.
But you've seen them?
I've seen them, yeah.
Good. Now what about your credit card?
Okay, my credit card started out with he needed a gas tank fixed in his 68 Camaro because at the beginning of our relationship, that was his transportation to work. He didn't have the money.
First, what prompted you to have him come into your house? How long had you known each other before you decided to move him into your house?
We were friends before, and then we got together, and we were together every day since. And so
How long?
How long? That once we got together.
Now, how long were you friends first?
Oh, May of '96.
Yes.
And then got together July 4th.
Of '96?
Yes.
A really long courtship. At least 8 weeks.
Well, he's a very smooth talker. I was also coming out of a bad marriage, and it's nice when someone tells you, you know, all these wonderful things about you and makes you feel wanted and loved, which is what I needed at the time, I guess. And I think he played on that too, but that's a personal thing.
So he moved in?
Yes. And we made a room for his daughter. She had her very own room. My mom and I purchased all the stuff to decorate it. We made them, it was their home.
Are any of these bills for what you did in furnishing his daughter's room?
No. And Tiffany has her bedding and stuff. Her mother has it. She uses it with Tiffany.
But those were gifts?
Right, those were gifts, yes.
Okay, but so now tell me about how you came to give him your credit card.
He needed a gas tank, like I said, the repair, and he didn't have the money. And, you know...
Did you know that he was already using your mother's credit card?
No, he hadn't. He used mine before he used my mom's.
Did you know that he had used your daughter's before you let him use yours?
I don't really remember if I knew it specifically that he had.
Go ahead.
So we got his gas tank repaired. He was driving a long distance, and he'd run out, basically have to fill up just to get back home because it was all pouring out on the ground.
And how much was that?
That was $120. That's rough. I mean, I have it of the credit card thing.
Okay, but there are a lot of bills here, according to you. $3,000 some odd worth.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She came in just ranting and raving because I was leaving. She didn't want me to leave. And then after she hit me, I defended myself and pushed her to the ground. Yes, I did.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 25-year-old Cammie Holman says The man she thought she loved, 24-year-old Jeffrey Slater, conned her and her mother, Lois Teeters, out of thousands of dollars. Jeffrey says Cammie is angry because they broke up.
Give me an idea of what he was purchasing on your credit card.
On mine specifically?
Yours.
Robinson's May. He needed new clothes. Like my mom stated, he had gained weight when we got together. I guess he liked my mom's cooking. I don't know. So there were lots of purchases for new clothes for him, as well as one of his mom's Christmas present was purchased on my Robinson's May card.
Did you purchase your mother's Christmas present on her credit card?
She purchased it, yeah.
He was with me at shopping. His mother would not have gotten a Christmas present, or her boyfriend, if it hadn't been me paying for it.
Well, I understand that, but did he say, can I buy my mother a Christmas present and put it on your card?
No.
Shh. Did he say that to you?
He said, I said, we need to go shopping and buy your mom something. He said, well, what should we do? I said, well, let's go to Robinson's May and get something for her. So we went, because I have a Robinson's May card. But that's only $21.54. That's...
Well, you see, that's a problem.
Right.
Because in order to have an agreement for him to pay you back, there has to be some sort of an agreement. This wasn't a, you know, I'll lend you the money to buy your mom a Christmas present.
So we can get rid of the Christmas
so
present.
Give me
that's
some
fine.
others.
Okay, so he got clothes for him, $297.25, $132.50, $43.09. Those are all clothes for him.
Give me some of the big bills that come up to $3,000.
Jacob's
now.
electronic system, that is an electronic system for his 68 race car, his Camaro. It's an electronic system.
And how much was that?
Part of it was $515.44. The other part is $281.85.
Does that, Mr. Slater, have a familiar ring to it?
I know exactly what the Jacob system is.
No, but does that bill?
Yeah, the bill, no, I know exactly what it is.
Well, then tell me about it, sir.
Well, during the time that we were living together, I went ahead and we were building my race car, or at the time we were building it.
What do you mean we were building your race car?
They were helping me purchase items for my car.
Yeah.
And during that time, I purchased an electronic system for making the car run proper. And I went ahead, ordered it with their consent. And when it came in, as time came on, I gave money for it over a period of time.
So you're telling me that you paid it all off?
I'm not saying I paid everything, because a lot of the stuff that we had purchased were purchases together.
No, not for your car.
Just a second.
I'm sorry.
Let's just talk about the car. I mean, I read your answer, and you seem to say, I don't owe her anything. That these were things that were purchased sort of as a couple.
A lot of stuff was purchased as a couple, yes, but as the car, over the course of time that I've lived there, I have paid money to the credit card companies
How
direct.
much? Show me.
This here, what I have in my hand is basically a check register on two different things that shows
I'm
documentation.
not interested in your check register, sir.
Well, what I'm saying is this here shows what I paid, when I paid, and amounts.
It shows nothing. Canceled checks show what you paid.
Okay, well, I can get canceled checks, but I did not get any, no.
Well, where did you think you were coming today, sir? To a ball? You were
Well-
coming to court. What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a store manager.
Which means that you know something about business.
Correct.
Right? You can take a check register and sit down and do it almost like a novel. Write whatever you want in there. That's why we use canceled checks as proof. What is that? That is nothing. A
No.
check register is a nothing. How much did he pay in total on your credit card?
I don't know. I didn't include any of the ones that he had paid.
None?
No.
And what about you, Cammie?
He gave me about $140. That went to, he took my car to Bakersfield.
Whatever. He gave
And
you about
used a gas card.
$140.
Yes.
Can I
it
see
went
some of
into
these?
credit
Now I
cards.
want to take a look at some of the charges.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Just the whole
These-
package. Yeah.
There's letters in there saying, we highlighted some
I don't
parts
want the
for you.
letters. I just want to see
Okay. It just says that he's going to pay us. So I didn't know that particular one right there on top.
Jacob's Electronics ignition system, $515. Is that you?
That was mine.
Okay. How about a trip to Texas airfare? What is that?
When we were dating, we were going to plan a trip to go to my father's house, and I didn't have the money at the time, and she made the arrangements with my job. She went ahead and purchased the tickets for me, Cammie, and my daughter, and we flew out.
So this was for me to go back and meet his family, to meet his family.
Is that what the trip was intended for, sir?
It was just supposed to be a trip for all of us to go visit, because I haven't seen my father in quite a few years.
Well, why should she pay for that?
It was a gesture. She said okay, and then I was going to pay part of it.
You were going to pay part of it?
Yeah, I was.
How much?
As much as my plane ticket was.
And what about your daughter?
Well, we hadn't talked about that.
Oh.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Pay $72 to get your hair styled. They're ripping you off, sir.
Real people, Judge Judy. Cammie Holman says she thought she loved 24-year-old Jeffrey Slater until she realized he was conning her and her mother, Lois Teeters. Jeffrey denies the allegation.
We have something here. Spark plugs.
Yeah, he bought new spark plugs and wires for his car, Excel. It was at an auto parts store. They wouldn't take his check.
Is that you, sir? Spark plugs.
Yes,
That
probably.
sound familiar? Why don't you pay your own bills? Why are you relying on these two ladies to pay your bills?
During that particular thing there, they would not accept a check from me at that time for whatever reason.
So why don't you just give them cash? Everybody accepts cash.
I didn't have cash on me.
Well, why don't you just go to the bank and get cash?
Well, we were going to, but Cammie said, well, why don't we just put it on my charge and then you can pay me back.
You said, can we just use your charge instead of having to leave and go to the bank and come back?
All right. Look, there came a time when you left, right?
Yes.
Why?
Things were working out between us, and I decided, things were going to work out for the long term, and I wanted to get out of there. And then after I left, things started getting more hectic. I had to have the cops called on her at my job.
Why is that, sir?
Because he hit me and threw me on the ground and left bruises, which the bruise pictures are at home. We accidentally forgot him.
When she came in my job, she come in ranting and raving because she didn't want me to leave, first of all. And
Because you owe my
I
mom
said,
money.
okay. She came in just ranting and raving because I was leaving. She didn't want me to leave. And then after she hit me, I defended myself and pushed her to the ground. Yes, I did. And then after that, I got up, grabbed the phone to make a phone call to the police. And at that time, when I started coming up, she comes around our counter bin and hangs up the phone. And then grabs me by the hair and just yanks a ton of hair
not
out.
what happened.
And then during that time, then she's saying, well, you owe my mom this, you owe my mom that, and I want it this and that. And then my phone rang. I finally got away from Cammie. And when the phone rang, I answered the phone, and it was the Fullerton Police Department when they had to come out and
How
take her.
much after you left did this incident occur? Assuming, sir, that what you say is true, how much after you left did she come to your job?
Oh, she came to my job a couple times, but we had numerous amount of phone calls during the day. And then what finally ended up happening after I had the cops come, I had to leave that job and go to a whole different area and get away from them because of the phone calls and everything else. I was in the verge of losing my job because of it.
And how much money have you sent to both plaintiffs since you left?
Since I left?
Yes.
Not specifically to them, but that I sent to the credit card companies are probably around maybe $800 or so.
Just a minute. $800?
Roughly.
Show me the last bill here. And now, in what month did you leave, sir?
May.
Now take out your last check register. I love it when a game plan comes together. Your last check register, sir, since May.
This particular one right here is one of the last ones that I made.
The last bill that came from NBNA and stuff, I think.
May. What date did he leave?
May 1st.
May 1st.
That's what time I told him to get out. He came
Just
and
a second. Shh. Is your credit card MBNA?
That's mine.
That's yours. All right. So here we have MBNA, $140. And then we're going to go down, and I'm going to see if I can find after May the rest of the $800. Let's see here. I must be missing something.
It might be right in April, too, when I paid some money.
We're not talking about April. I'm talking about since you left, sir.
Well,
I speak English. Do you speak English?
Yeah.
You said after May, after you left, you gave her about $800. and that your check register is accurate. So I see May 15th, $140. I'm just looking for the rest of the $800. I see one in July to a Powerhouse Gym for $350.
No,
Just later.
That's something else.
That's something else.
And that might be not the most current one because I had to change bank accounts.
No, this goes, sir, through all of the months. June, July, August. This does
I know,
everything.
but I have 2 different checking accounts.
Sir, you see anything written on my forehead? Huh?
No.
Who's Nicole?
My hairstylist.
Pay $72 to get your hair styled.
He pays for his
They're ripping you off, sir. Well, so far, sir, all I see of the $800 is $140. Nothing else. I see another $380 for your gym. Spend a lot of money between your haircuts and gym. Nothing for what you owe.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Sir, you have to take responsibility for what you do. These people are not related to you by blood. They are not related to you by marriage.
Thank God.
You had a relationship with this young lady. She thought it would work out. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. In any event, you spent a lot of their money. Not only did you spend it, you enjoyed it, and you have the fruits of it. You're driving around in a car unless you sold it that they fixed. You're wearing nice clothes that they paid for. You have a nice stereo system that you listen to. And on and on and on, based on these bills that you say you saw. So you owe them the money. And your excuse that you didn't have an agreement with them is just a lot of baloney. I mean, I don't think that these are ladies that have an awful lot of money. And I think, furthermore, your conduct, knowing that you owe them the money and spending in 2 months' period of time almost $800 on a gym and $70 to get your hair coiffed is a lot of nerve. So the judgment in the case is for one plaintiff in the amount of $3,000 and the other in the amount of $4,900. That's all.
Does that excuse you may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next...
Step forward, please.
39-year-old Philadelphia transit worker Vanessa Coleman says a man she used to date, Theodore Smith, stole her car for 2 days, then returned it damaged. Mr. Smith claims he had Vanessa's permission to take the car and is not responsible for the damage to the vehicle.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. All rise. Judge, it's number 220 on the calendar, the matter of Coleman versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
All right, Miss Coleman, you say that Mr. Smith stole your car.
Yes.
He said he borrowed it with your permission. In any event, the car, something happened to it. It was damaged. You want to get paid?
Yes.
So first, let's start on the 27th of June, which is when this whole thing came down, I understand. He took the keys from your house.
Yes.
Tell me how that happened.
I had got home from work early this day, and the maintenance man, name is Derek, asked me if I could run him and Mr. Smith up to cash their check.
He was a neighbor of yours?
Yes, he's a neighbor. And so I did this and came back home, and I knew I was going out that evening, so I came in to change, to get ready. So while I was in the house changing, Mr. Smith rang my bell. I asked who it was, and it was saying he responded, so I went to the door and let him in. So we were down there talking, and I noticed that I have a countertop in my living room that the keys were laying there. So I went back upstairs and told him that I was getting ready to go out that evening, and I left him downstairs. So anyway, as I got ready to come back down to leave, I noticed that my keys weren't on the counter anymore. So I figured, well, maybe I took them back upstairs. And I went back upstairs, and I didn't see the keys up there either. And I checked all in my pocketbook, and I couldn't find my keys.
Didn't find the keys? So did you call the police?
I called the police that evening because I waited to see maybe he would bring the car back. So I waited and waited, and I did finally call the police and report the car stolen that evening.
Now, that was June 27th?
June 27th.
When did you get the car back?
My niece found the car June 29th, which was a Sunday.
And what was the condition of the car when it was found?
Trying to move the car wouldn't move.
Okay, so it was damaged.
So it was damaged.
Well, he acknowledges that the car was damaged while you were driving it, sir. Now, Why don't you tell me your version of how you got possession of these keys?
Ms. Coleman and I, we live 2 doors apart from each other.
Had you been friends before this happened?
Yes, we were. Yes, we were. We were also seeing each other.
No,
and
we weren't,
probably starting what I would call the start of a relationship.
What do you mean?
She and I had spent time in each other's house a couple of times, having dinner, ice cream, these sort of things.
That's nice.
I've used a car before, and I've driven a car and brought it back.
With her permission?
With her permission. I had asked her, could I use the car to make an errand to my mother's house? My mother lives in walking distance, 10 minutes, and driving, it's 2 minutes. The car was parked 4 blocks away from my mother's house.
Just a second. You asked her if, according to you, you asked her if you could ride to an errand to your mother's house.
Yes, I did.
You didn't tell me what she said.
She said yes. She gave me the keys, which was a full set of keys. At that time...
And you intended to be back in...
In moments, because
moments.
She had told me she...
You intended to be back in moments, and you knew she was going out.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
She gave me the keys. Her and the landlord were standing on the pavement, talking, as I got into the car and exited the block. About 5 minutes into the journey after the car, I stopped at the intersection. I tried to engage the shifter to go on. The car wouldn't move. It didn't
All right,
respond.
you knew at that point, to make a long story a little shorter, you knew at that point that there was something wrong with the car.
Yes.
What did you do then?
I had a friend who was with me.
Which friend was with you?
A gentleman I picked up.
Just a second. A gentleman you picked up where?
This was on the block of my mother's house. The
Who
street
was
where
that?
my mother lived at.
Who was that?
It was a gentleman named Boo.
Boo.
Right.
Does Boo have a last name?
Boo Rogers, yes he does.
What'd you pick up Boo for?
He was going in the same direction I was coming back. So I
you
was
had
giving him a lift.
So what you're saying to me was you had already been at your mother's house.
Yes.
So you did the errand at your mother's
Yes, I
house
did.
already. You sure about that?
Yes.
Go ahead. And you're on your way back with Boo in the car.
Right.
Go ahead.
The car broke down at the intersection. We both got out. We pushed the car. At that time, I'm not knowing too much about cars. I asked him. He didn't know too much about cars. So I went to a payphone. I called a friend who did know about cars. He came and checked the car out. He told me, Mike...
Why didn't you call her?
Well, at that particular time, I wanted to see what was wrong with the car.
Now listen, Mr. Smith, let's talk logic here, sir. You said you were going to be back in 2 minutes. You knew she was going out. Now you're out for well beyond 2 minutes. You pick up Boo. Then you call one friend. The person that you don't call is the person whose car it is, who has to go out, and you know that she was going out. So I don't understand why you didn't pick up the phone and say, I'm going to try to fix the car. I'm having some trouble with it.
I agree with you.
Good. I'm glad you do. It makes me feel better. Go ahead.
Thank you. So the gentleman came, and we looked at the car, and he told me that the clutch was dry. It needed hydraulic clutch fluid.
Okay, so then what did you do?
Well, we tried
Now
to
we're looking for fluid.
Right.
We got Boo and we got fluid.
Exactly. I tried to get the fluid.
How did you try to get the fluid, sir?
We went to an auto supply store.
And how far away from where the car was?
It was a
that?
distance.
About how far, sir?
10-minute ride.
How'd you get there?
In his car. The gentleman who came to look at the car, who was a
Just a
mechanic.
minute. Let me understand this. All this time you haven't called her yet?
No, I haven't.
Keep going.
That was it.
And so what'd you do?
Upon not getting the car started, again, I did not call her. I went home. I tried to contact her then.
How did you try to contact her?
By calling her on the phone.
And what happened?
I got no answer.
I'm having too good a time with this, please. So you tried to contact her, you called her, and there was no answer.
Exactly.
So I assume you wrote out a note.
No, I did not.
Because you're right next
No,
door.
I
You
did
wrote
not.
out a note and you say, don't worry about your car, it broke down, here's where it's located. You went and tacked it on a door.
No, I did not.
No, you did not.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The reason why I sued him for that because
to teach him a lesson.
Yes.
And later today,
So you made trouble between her and her son. You were a pig about the money that you won. You really are nasty.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 39-year-old Vanessa Coleman says Theodore Smith stole her car and returned it 2 days later with extensive damages. Theodore says Vanessa gave him permission to take the car and denies any responsibility for the damage.
It's not really urgently important, Miss Coleman. Listen to me. It's not urgently important whether he drove the car with or without your permission. He's responsible for the damage to your car. Now, I don't think he can look me in the eye and deny that, right, sir?
I agree with you.
Right. So, did you have the car fixed?
Oh, yes.
Let me see the repair bill. When did you finally tell her where the car was?
Never.
I didn't. The car was recovered Sunday morning. I woke up, came out, the car was in front of her house.
Weren't you curious as to how she found it?
Not really. No. No.
I don't understand these bills, Miss Coleman.
Okay,
Let's understand.
The short bill is the actual estimate that all the damages that I had done to the car. The other estimate is just for the damage that he did, which was to the clutch and the shifter.
Well, $460. Is that what you paid for the damage that he did?
I paid $900 and what is it, $945?
Yeah, but you know, you're not talking about a wheel alignment and front brakes.
See, I didn't
and
charge
outer
him.
seats.
I didn't charge him for that. I just charged him for the clutch and the shifter.
But she's suing me for $945.
Just a second.
And the reason why I sued him for that because
to teach him a lesson.
Yes, he denied. he denied to pay me anything except for the $60 he gave me.
He gave you $60?
He gave me $60.
What'd you give her $60 for, sir?
The first day that this had happened and she told me she was putting the car in the shop,
yeah.
I said, okay, I'm going to give you some money to start on. This is initial payment. Give me a receipt and I'll pay the rest gladly.
Right.
She never gave me a receipt. She refused to give me a receipt. This happened
All right, got it. Listen, Miss Coleman. He has to pay for the damage he did on the car. If I could add on a couple of bucks for bad manners, you know, I would do that, but that's not what we're about.
Yes.
He's got to pay for the damage he did to the car, $460.
Yes.
And I would suggest to you, if you ever made a loan to him of your car or anything else that you value.
Never, Ann.
What?
Never.
Right.
You know it.
Thank you very much. That's all.
I'll excuse you. You may step out.
Thank you.
I'll be back to you right.
Thank you.
Xin chào tất cả các bạn. Trong video hôm nay, mình sẽ chia sẻ đến các bạn một số quyền lợi mà người lao động của chúng ta được hưởng khi đi xuất khẩu lao động tại thị trường Đan Mạch. Và khi đi xuất khẩu lao động tại thị trường Đan Mạch thì các bạn sẽ được hưởng một số các quyền lợi khác giống như các quyền lợi của người lao động bản xứ. Đầu tiên, đó chính là quyền lợi bảo hiểm xã hội. Người lao động ở Đan Mạch thì sẽ được hưởng các quyền lợi về bảo hiểm xã hội như là bảo hiểm sức khỏe, bảo hiểm thất nghiệp và các quyền lợi hấp dẫn khác. Và hệ thống bảo hiểm ở nước này thì sẽ giúp đảm bảo cho sự ổn định tài chính cho người lao động của chúng ta trong các tình huống khác nhau. Thứ hai, đó là chế độ tăng lương hàng năm. Ở Đan Mạch thì thường sẽ có những chính sách tăng lương hàng năm dựa trên hiệu suất làm việc của người lao động. Thì điều này sẽ tạo các cơ hội cho việc nâng cao thu nhập theo thời gian. Quyền lợi thứ ba, đó chính là cung cấp nơi ăn ở miễn phí. Chủ sử dụng lao động thì sẽ thường cung cấp các điều kiện sống căn bản, bao gồm như chỗ ở và đồ ăn miễn phí dành cho người lao động của chúng ta. Quyền lợi tiếp theo, đó chính là nghỉ làm vào các dịp lễ. Người lao động sẽ được tận hưởng quyền nghỉ làm vào các dịp lễ quan trọng của đất nước Đan Mạch, giúp các bạn có thời gian để nghỉ ngơi và thư giãn. Quyền lợi thứ 5, đó chính là hỗ trợ di dân và chế độ phúc lợi gia đình. Cả gia đình của người lao động sẽ được hỗ trợ trong việc làm và thủ tục di dân cũng như là hưởng các chế độ phúc lợi từ chính phủ Đan Mạch. Và sau 5 năm làm việc hợp pháp thì gia đình bạn có thể làm các thủ tục di dân để định cư lâu dài ở đất nước này. Vậy là trong video hôm nay thì mình đã chia sẻ đến các bạn những quyền lợi mà người lao động của chúng ta được hưởng khi đi xuất khẩu lao động tại thị trường Đan Mạch. Và cảm ơn các bạn đã theo dõi video của mình và hẹn gặp lại các bạn trong những video lần sau.